Good evening, and welcome to the September 11th, 2025 meeting of the Jersey City Zoning Board of Adjustment. This meeting is held in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12, the Open Public Meetings Act. I would like to call this meeting to order. Mr. Beasley, are there any sunshine announcements that you need to share with us?
Yes, in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, notice has been provided to Bergen Record, LS Polito, as well as posted with the city clerk. I'd like to request to mark this as B1 for the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Beasley, will you please take roll call?
Yes, I see Commissioner Allen,
Here.
Commissioner Burns. Here. Commissioner D'Angelo.
Here.
Commissioner Shadid.
Yes.
Commissioner Barron.
Here.
Acting Chair, or Vice Chair Arul, sorry.
Here.
And Chair Coyle.
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum of
Okay.
7 commissioners.
Okay. Can we please stand for the flag salute? I would ask everyone to remain standing for a moment of silence for 9/11 victims. Thank you. Okay, do we have any staff members in attendance that need to be sworn in?
Do you swear that the comments you make this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you. I see Eric Beasley, I see Matt Ward, Tanya Mariano, Ben Jordan, and Tom Evans. Thank you. Sworn.
Thank you. Again, Mr. Beasley, is there any correspondence or adjournments that we should know about?
Yeah, so item 11 under new business, case Z 2024-0076, 30 DeKalb Avenue, has requested to carry to October 9th. And item 12 under new business, case Z 2025-0046, 292 Arlington Avenue, has requested to carry to October 23rd.
Okay, thank you. So we have 3 cases tonight. Okay, and before we begin, I would just like to let everyone know that if there are any public comments tonight, all public comments on every individual basis will be held to 3 minutes. And Mr. Ahmed Shahid, Commissioner Ahmed Shahid, will be timing you. He will let you know when you have a minute left, and so that you could wrap up your comments. Also, we will start no cases or continue. 10 o'clock will be the cutoff for any new cases coming forward for us to listen to tonight. So something might be postponed. I can't guarantee that we'll hear everything tonight. But we are going to start with case Z2025-0054. It is a 1-year extension for 230 4th Street.
Hi, good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. Gerard Pizzillo from Genova Burns on behalf of the applicant, Grove Street Hub LLC. As Madam Chair indicated, we are appearing before you requesting a third and final 1-year extension of the minor site plan with D variance this board approved in May of 2021 under case Z20-046. Essentially, the project was a conversion of a former tire shop to a restaurant category 2 use. The basis and the underlying issues related to the approval and why we're here for a third time, setting aside the COVID pandemic, which impacted everything. There was a litigation partnership issues, and then there was a financing issue that occurred. With the historic nature of the building, there are certain elements that need to, of course, increase the costs. So that was what the issue was in working with a contractor within a budget. The architect has confirmed, and I did speak with her this week, that they are close to getting a contractor. The intention is to move forward with the project, understanding that this is the last chance saloon here. They no longer, after the expiration of this year, they're no longer afforded the protections under the zoning, so the city can change the zoning, and they no longer have the approval to build according to what you granted back in 2020. So we understand that, and that's what we're trying to avoid here. There were conditions on the underlying approval. We agree and understand that they would comply, carry through to this extension, and we would agree to be bound by them as well. Happy to answer any other questions the board has, but that's my presentation.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public here to make any comments on this? Okay, if not, do any commissioners have any comments or questions regarding this one-year extension? Okay, then I'm asking for a motion. What about, I'm sorry, staff?
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. Council already agreed to the conditions originally approved. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, did you have your hand up? No. Okay. Okay, I'm asking for a motion to vote on this extension with conditions. Can I get a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve KZ 2025-0054 as presented to the board this evening.
Can I get a second?
Vice Chair Rule? Yes. Commissioner Shadid? Commissioner Shadid?
Yes.
Commissioner D'Angelo?
Yes.
Commissioner Barron?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
And Chair Coyle?
Yes.
Motion carries, 7 in favor, none opposed.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. Okay. We are going to go to case Z2025-0056, 85 Sherman Place. Huh? How can he? No, I changed the order. It's 85 Sherman Place is what I'm going to hear next. But where is he? But who are we going to be bringing that day? Who are we going to? You spoke to him? Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Cynthia Hagianis. I'm here on behalf of the owners and residents of 85 Sherman Place, Paul Amatuzzo and Gary Westby Gibson. And I just wanted to hand up the original notices for this is a zoning appeal, if I may.
Yes, please.
The marker says A1 for this application, the notice of publication, and
Okay, and we are appealing the decision of the acting zoning officer to approve plans to build an addition on the property right next door to my client's property at 85 Sherman Place, and to put an ADU in the backyard. And I'm sure you're all familiar with the acting zoning officer. That's Tanya Marione. I think she's here this evening. And I just wanted to note for the record, and the board can sort of take this, weigh this the way it wants to, but here she's not in her role as staff to the board. She's the planning director, but she's also the acting zoning officer, so she wears two hats. There's no prohibition on that in the municipal land use law, but sometimes there is a conflict between what you do as a planner and what you do as the zoning officer. Sometimes there can be bias or the appearance of bias. So I just wanted to, for the board to bear that in mind this evening as they hear our presentation and probably the city witnesses. So just to tell you a little bit about what this is about. So I'm sure you're all familiar with Sherman Place. It's really one of the nicest blocks in Jersey City. It has a lot of historic structures on the block. It is a planned historic district in Jersey City. It is not yet a district, but there are two separate regulatory schemes in Jersey City that protect historic structures. And we are kind of unique in a way. We have demolition regulations that were recently revised and readopted in February. Those regulations attempt to protect historic structures even when they are not in a historic district and have not been landmarked yet. So Jersey City is kind of unique in that we're trying to keep things from being demolished that are historically significant even before they're protected. So that's the demo regulations. We also have a special zoning for this district called the RH1 that is something like a historic district zoning. And it contains design standards that are similar to historic district standards. So we have appealed the zoning officer's approval on 3 grounds, actually. One is noncompliance with demo regulations, noncompliance with the R1 standards, the RH1 standards, especially the design standards. And there is also an issue with the accessory dwelling unit, which we'll talk about maybe toward the end of the presentation. So I am here this evening with an expert, a historic preservation consultant, Jacqueline Poe du Vallon, and with my client, Paul Amatuzzo, who's going to be the fact witness. So I think we're, if there are no questions, we'll bring Ms. Poe du Vallon up to testify.
Hi.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you will provide this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last.
Jacqueline Poe du Vallon. Last name is spelled P as in Peter, E-U dash, capital D as in David, U, V as in Victor, A-L-L-O-N as in Nancy. And yes, that is my full family name. My husband's last name is Stark. I could have had a much easier life, but I didn't choose that. So thank you all for hearing my testimony this evening. Let me just, yes.
Would you explain your background and your credentials to the board?
I'm a historic preservation consultant with 20 years of experience working in the field. I have a master's degree in historic preservation from Columbia University, which I earned about 20 years ago, as I said. I worked as an application reviewer at the City of New York Landmarks Preservation Commission, the LPC. I have been a private consultant for the last 16 years. While at LPC, I reviewed and approved architectural and engineering drawings, filing drawings, which would be then filed with Department of Buildings, and guided applicants through LPC's public hearing process. As a consultant, I primarily assist clients with regulatory compliance, most often handling permit applications to the New York City Landmarks Preservation Commission for both staff level approvals and public hearing items. I have presented at LPC public hearings hundreds of times, both as a staff person and as a consultant. My clients have included Carnegie Hall, Warner Brothers, Restoration Hardware, Bottega Veneta, to name a few. I have also worked on projects that have required review by the New York State Historic Preservation Office, including a review of a master plan for Carnegie Hall, historic tax credit projects, National Register nominations, and cultural resource surveys. Maybe I should also explain up front, since this is a zoning board, which is not my usual forte, and you probably don't see Historic Preservation Consultant's office, I should say that there's no professional licensing for my profession. However, the federal government, through the aegis of the Secretary of the Interior Standards and Guidelines for Archaeology and Historic Preservation, has established professional qualification standards for people working in the field of historic preservation, and that the main qualification is a graduate degree in historic preservation, which I have, or a related field.
Okay, I think,
Yes.
Does the board accept her credentials? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Pou de Vallon, what documents did you review to prepare to testify today?
I reviewed the drawing, the set of drawings that were prepared by the architects for the project. I reviewed the materials prepared by the city agencies, the memos that describe the justification for allowing demolition and approval of the new design for the addition and the ADU.
Okay, could you explain?
Oh, and I also reviewed the designation report for the proposed Sherman Street Residential Historic District.
Okay, and what did your review of the plans reveal?
Well, with regard to the partial demolition, the criteria set forth in, forgive me if I'm not saying this properly, chapter 345-30 of the LDO, which ironically almost is identical to the criteria used for determining National Register nomination for a historic building. I think that those guidelines were largely ignored or not commented on. I did not see documentation submitted that shows the Historic Preservation Officer undertook that review based on the demolition ordinance. If such a review was undertaken, then it should have been noted that the house is well over 50 years old, is within a pending local historic district, which now also has a degree of state recognition and is associated with the broad pattern of development in this portion of the city. The integrity of the building is not addressed as stipulated, including the fact that it stands in its original site, retains discernible elements of its original architectural style, materials, roofline, footprint. The description of the building in the pending historic district designation report was not referenced, and that should have been, in my opinion, used to address all of these criteria issues. Can I talk about design issues
Yeah,
as
please
well?
go on, yes.
There are also a number of inconsistencies and omissions in the short analysis provided in the prior approval that was issued on June 25th, 2025. This is perhaps in part due to the fact that the drawing set submitted lacks certain drawings and dimensions that I think would have been needed for a thorough analysis. There are no existing building elevations and sections to compare to the proposed. I do have a set of the drawings with me if anyone's curious to look at them. There are no dimensions on the plans to show exactly where the cutback of the side wall on its east elevation.
Can you explain what the applicant's proposing to do first before you get
The
into?
proposal is, yes, forgive me if everyone's not, if it's not fresh in their minds, what the design is. The design is to remove a large portion of the east elevation of this house, so the house, the wall abutting one neighbor's house. The purpose of that would be to cut back the side of the house in order to create a clear path of over 3 feet wide so that people could access an ADU being built in the rear yard. The other part of that is to also remove the entire rear facade of the house, which I did not see brought up in any documentation from the agencies, and then subsequently build an addition on the back of the main house that would essentially extrude itself from the main house in pretty much the same massing, doubling the size of the house, and really completely altering the footprint of the existing house.
Can I interrupt for 1 minute? Do we have any photographs or pictures that
Of
we
course.
could project?
I do.
Yes. Oh,
Can
to
we project them? Yeah. If not, do you have picture? Well, then we will take
Yeah,
that.
We
yeah.
do have, we do have pictures, but we don't have a digital presentation.
Are these the same photos that were posted to the portal?
The drawings have a front and rear photograph. I can
Yeah.
put that up if you like.
Oh, Thank you, that would be
I'd
great. Thank
actually
you.
like to have the members of the board look at those hard copies as well, because with those, you're looking at the building head-on from the public thoroughfare directly across the street and the sidewalk in front of the house. Thank you.
Ms. Hadjianis. Ms. Hadjianis over here.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Matt, no.
I'm just asking if these are the photos that were posted to the portal.
Yes, thank you.
Then we must enter them as an exhibit, please.
Okay, sure.
So have your professional or your witness describe it, and then we can mark it.
Okay. Okay, so I'm holding printouts of two photos of the house. One is taken from the sidewalk directly in front of the house, and one is taken from the sidewalk directly across the street. And it's just giving you a head-on view of the house, so you can see the portion of the east elevation that would be cut back, would be removed, altering the original building footprint to, again, allow a wider path to the ADU at the backyard. What is the next procedure?
Did you explain the second photo?
Oh, yes. Well, I explained both of them, yes.
Okay.
So this is the front from the sidewalk right in front of the house, and this is the front looking from across the street.
Okay,
That would be A2 and A3 mark.
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And the architect for the builder has also connected his computer so we can put up the photos on his plans, I believe, that were approved as part of the zoning approval. Okay. Okay,
Okay.
please.
Should I continue with my little
Yeah,
list?
please.
Thank you. So as I was saying, there are no dimensions on the plans that show exactly where the cutback of the sidewall will begin and where it will end. There are no dimensions to show exactly how far back the wall is being removed from the front of the building. There are no foundation and support for excavation drawings prepared by an engineer. There are no shoring plans prepared by an engineer. Those things I can't emphasize enough are important to make sure that when they're doing the work on this building and it's only left with two walls standing, you want to make sure that those two walls are shored and can actually stand.
And when you say only two walls would be left standing, would you explain why you're saying only two?
Because what is shown on the plans is removal of the entire interior structure. They're going to be replacing all the floor joists and basically rebuilding this house entirely at the interior, removing most of its east elevation wall, removing its rear wall entirely. So then all you're left with is the front facade and its west wall. So what holds up those two walls? So that's why I'm saying foundation and supportive excavation drawings are important to approve before, I would think, before demolition and proposed design plans are approved, as well as a shoring plan to make sure those two walls are supported. There's only one sightline section, and that's taken from across the street. Side views, oblique views are not included to document potential visibility of the stairway bulkhead from the east and west. The proposed building elevations on sheets A4 and A5 do not agree. The alteration to the wall and a portion of the roof above it are not shown on the front elevation that's on sheet A4. Would you like me to try to advance slides to show you these drawings? Okay. Thank you very much. It's very gracious of you. A4 and A5. Okay. Let's go back to here. Okay.
Thanks, Jeff, thank you.
So what I'm saying is that on this elevation.
Talk into your microphone.
Sorry. Okay, so what I'm saying is that in the front facade elevation that you see in your top left corner, where the arrow's sort of pointing at, it's not clear to me if that's showing the altered portion of the original roof line. That would have to be a change made to accommodate cutting back the side wall. Secondly, I also question the information presented on the drawings because to me, Some of the drawings are not clear as to whether or not the entire roof has to be reframed and replaced, because in my years of experience, I don't know how you're going to keep the roof on when you only have three. I mean, you've removed 2 walls and you have only 2 walls left. So, let's see. Can I talk about design review? wanna ask me
I
questions
actually
on
just
that?
have one more question for
Okay.
you. I mean, you noted that there are no engineering plans. Do you think it's possible that from what you've seen that this house could collapse when this project is being done?
Well, it is scary to me that there were no shoring plans or supportive excavation plans filed. There are structural drawings within the set prepared by the architect, but there's no drawings in here from an engineer.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so if you could talk a little bit about the design standards.
Regarding the design review, I agree with the historic preservation officer on his I disagree with the historic preservation officer on his interpretation of the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties as applied here for the RH1 design review. As I already stated, most glaring, the prior approval does not mention the fact that the work will remove not only 30 feet of original wall on the east elevation, but also the entire interior structure of the building and its entire rear wall. The prior approval only mentions the 30 feet of wall at the east elevation of the house that's being cut back so that it can make an access path to the new ADU. It does not mention that all of the floor joists are being replaced and the entire rear wall taken down so that the house can be doubled in size. In essence, a significant amount of original historic fabric is being removed from this building. This is contrary, This is contrary to the standards, which state historic character of a property will be retained and preserved. The replacement of intact or repairable historic materials or alteration of features, spaces, and special relationships that characterize a property will be avoided. The prior approval states that the cutting back of the wall will only be minimally visible from the public right-of-way. I don't believe that's accurate as well. It will be entirely visible from the sidewalk in front of the house and from across the street, which is why I brought those photos for you today. As I mentioned above, the approval does not mention the removal of the entire interior structure and the rear wall and does not require a shoring plan, as I've already stated. The approval states the proposed work retains the front facade and side facade bay window that define the property. This is not accurate. Under the standards, the entire building envelope is significant, not just the front facade. The approval does not address the fact that the proposed addition will extrude the rear of the house to double its depth, rather than create a smaller, subservient addition at the rear that would be respectful to the original building and discernible from the original building, which is the standard in sound preservation practice and is called for by the Secretary of the Interior Standards. The approval does not address the rear wall of the addition, which lacks a traditional pattern of window openings as found in the rears of houses from the late 19th century. There's no hierarchy of fenestration. There is no simple cornice at the top of the wall, only an aluminum cladding. I'd like to add one more point about this whole process, if I may, which is that lastly, certain logistics I don't think have been questioned by the municipality. Chiefly, how would the addition and the ADU, how would they be constructed if there's only a 3-foot wide alley between 85 Sherman and its neighbor? How will excavation equipment and other materials be moved onto the site? Do they plan to use a crane to lower a skid steer into the backyard, which I have seen people do? But I've also seen projects where property owners have made a giant hole in the front of a house so that they can move the necessary equipment into the backyard to do excavation. I think these are questions that a municipality should be asking. Along the same lines, a municipality should not be issuing building permits for significant structural alterations if a shoring plan has not been provided. So for all these reasons, I think this work should have better been reviewed by a historic preservation commission, rather than one being at the discretion of one staff person. Thank you.
And I want to, so in his staff comments, the city's senior historic preservation specialist, he did say the partial demolition is not ideal. Do you agree with that statement?
I do agree. It's not ideal. I think it's also an understatement. I think, generally speaking, sound preservation practice it dictates not removing such a large portion of a building unless you are dealing with a situation where maybe there's a structural problem and you need to address that. And the only way to address it is by reconstructing a wall. In this case, it's really just for a matter of convenience to allow a new tenant living at the back of the lot to have access into the back of the lot.
Okay, and with you reviewed the landmarking designation report prepared by Hunter Research for the Sherman Place Residential Historic District,
Yes.
which is, as we've said, it's a planned district. It's not yet officially a historic district. Is there anything about that report that you feel is important to consider?
I mean, it does describe this building as being a contributing structure to that proposed historic district. It's a building that speaks to the history of development in that part of the city in the late 19th century. It does give it an architectural style, so all of those things do make it important in the historic district. And something else I'd like to note, that since that report was presented to the state of New Jersey, the state of New Jersey has established that this district is eligible for listing on the state Register of Historic Places and thereby also the National Register of Historic Places. And the state of New Jersey actually issued a certification of eligibility. May I enter that as into the record?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if the
anyone-
board
I
attorney
have
wants to
copies.
take a look at it first.
And one interesting thing about this letter, and by the way, even just determination of eligibility on the National Register does give buildings a degree of protection, specifically in regard to if there's ever a project that would require federal funding or a historic tax credit project where someone would be getting tax credits for the rehabilitation of a historic house. In those cases, the State Historic Preservation Office would be required to review the work. So in that sense, this house has some protection already. This house in this district has some protection already, and it's also interesting in this letter. It notes that there's a special characteristic of the lots on Sherman Place, and I just want to find that and read that to you, and then I'll hand this in. Sorry, I should have marked this. Here we go. HPO staff were intrigued by the depth of the parcel lots on Sherman Place and questioned the cause of their size. While the size of the lots alone is not reason for significance, it might support a criterion A argument if the size can be linked to intentions of a specific developer or project. So it's just interesting that Sherman Place's rear yards even got a shout out from the State Historic Preservation Office. Can I pass these
Yeah.
to the commissioners?
Yeah, thank
You
you.
want to mark this as
Yes, yes,
four,
please.
is it now?
Yes, if we could get this marked as A4.
Exhibit A4 was received in March.
Could we identify it a little clearer? Is this the August 15th, 2024 letter?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Just one moment, I'll mark this.
You have it, Mr. Harrington?
I have a copy.
Okay, and I had one, I think this might be my final question for you. So I think if you read the staff comments about their plan review, you might get the impression that this only a little sliver of the building is being removed. Do you think that they might have gotten a wrong impression from the plans?
No, the plans are very clear
Okay.
that the entire rear wall is going away so that you can create full floor apartments on each floor that are, continuous at the interior.
And is that portion of the building that's being removed, do you believe that that's a character defining feature of the property?
It is. It's part of the original building envelope. It's part of its original design. And generally speaking, when you're looking at an addition on a historic building in a historic district, sound preservation practice is to leave at least the top floor rear facade intact. So you leave that as an original signature of the original building envelope.
Okay, but like focusing on the street view, what will no longer be there that's historically significant?
The only change you'll see, unless there's, I'm not sure if there's certain things about trim details and the cladding that might be changing, but certainly the cutting back of the bay that is closest to, what is it 83? Is that 83 Sherman? So on that east elevation where one portion of the side wall, I think, comes within a foot of 83 Sherman, where that portion is being cut back, you will be able to perceive that change, and there will be a minor roof line change that you'll be able to see from the street when you're facing the building head on. In terms of design changes that you can see from the street, as I said earlier, it's not clear to me, as I don't think it's being made clear in the drawings submitted, whether or not the stairway bulkhead proposed would be visible from the street. They did document with a sightline study that you won't be able to see it looking at it from directly across the street, but I don't know if you go to the east or west, would it become visible over other houses?
Okay, so if you had been reviewing these plans to determine whether or not to recommend a prior approval of the partial demolition application, what would you have done?
I first would have asked for more documentation, additional drawings, so I could make a more easy comparison. And then, based on my own experience, I would have encouraged reducing the size of the rear addition to make it subservient to the original main house.
Okay. I think that's all I have, and I believe Mr. Harrington's going to have some questions for you.
Good evening. Is this on? Is this good?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to take a shot at your last name if that's okay.
Fine.
Just so we're clear, there's been a lot of testimony about historic resources, historic issues. This zone and the properties within it, the RH1 zone, it's eligible for a historic district, correct?
Eligible for listing on the state historic register of historic places, and by extension, the National Register.
But-
yes, that's what I was referring to.
Right. But just so we're all clear, it is not a historic district.
It's not a locally designated historic district yet, which is why it's not listed yet on the state historic register.
Okay, but there's a process for it to become officially a historic district within the municipality, correct?
Yes,
And that has not occurred yet.
it's in process, and I believe
But it has not occurred yet, correct?
I'm not the best person to ask that question to.
Okay.
I can tell you that a thoroughly researched designation report has already been completed, and I've been told that when one person comes back from maternity leave, the hope is that it will finally be processed by the city for final designation.
Okay, so the process isn't complete.
Right.
Right.
Mr. Harrington, should we just put your appearance on the record?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, for the record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley. I represent the owner of 85 Sherman Place. Thank you. Okay. And you mentioned that you reviewed section 345-30 in the Jersey City Land Development Ordinance. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you look at specifically section E?
Forgive me, I've had a crash course in your ordinances in the last, say, week and a half, so you'll have to remind me. Is that where it lists off the criteria for what has to be considered?
It is. It is.
Then yes, that's the portion I reviewed.
And would you agree that section provides that it applies only to landmarks, structures, buildings, etc., within a historic district?
Yes.
Okay. And so and we've just established that this is not in a historic district.
I'm just going to have to correct the record. There's two sections of E. Do you have the new ordinance?
I have the new ordinance.
Okay, there's an E1 and an E2.
I have an yes, E1, E2.
Okay,
E1 speaks to, I can refer
yeah,
to.
why don't you read the introductory paragraph of E1?
E1 says the following shall be considered in regard to an application to demolish an individual landmark building, structure, site, or object, or any building, structure, site, or object contained within a historic district, and then it lists criteria A through G.
The ordinance that you're reading from, I didn't quite follow that. It's almost like someone repeating a phone number too quickly.
Right.
But there was an ordinance, 25-006. Is that the ordinance you're reading from? Or are you reading from the Muni Code website ordinance for that section?
I'm reading the ordinance that was taken off.
Not codified yet. There was an ordinance adopted earlier this year that was available by reference, but not yet shown in line.
So you're saying this is not accurate?
Correct. That's what I'm saying. You want me to look at it real quick?
Yep.
Yes, this is out of date. Out of date. Yes, I suggest that you access ordinance 25-006.
Okay, do we want to, just to prevent any further confusion about what's the operative law is right now, should we mark the ordinance 25-006 as an exhibit?
Do you have a copy?
I do.
Do you have an extra copy for Mr. Harrington?
He can use mine. Are we up to A5 now?
So for the record, Cynthia, okay.
Ordinance is A5. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So thank you. So
Can you give that to Mr. Harrington?
If there's numbers at the bottom of that version, you'll want to look at page 14 of 28 or page 11. There are two sets of page numbers.
page 14?
Yes.
Mr. LaPaglia, would it make sense to go
Okay.
off the record for a minute or two?
I'm good. I see
Okay.
it. I see it. This is the same reference to, my error there. It's the same reference in Ms. Hajianis's legal memo that she provided. I don't think it changes my questioning or with regard to it not being a historic district. But so you did. Let me regroup here then. And you did look at the local ordinance for RH1. Is that correct?
Yes.
And RH, that doesn't stand for, the H in there, do you know what that stands for?
I do not.
Okay, see, it doesn't stand, well, I yes, okay. Just. And did you review then, yeah, I assume from your testimony you reviewed the design standards within that section?
Yes.
And is it accurate to say that one of the standards states, well, I'll read it, any restoration or renovation is strongly encouraged to be completed under the guidance of the Secretary of Interior guidelines for the treatment of historic properties when undertaking any exterior work. Do you believe that is an accurate representation of what's there?
That's what it says. Yes.
Okay.
I do remember reading that.
Right. So can we agree by that language that it's strongly encouraged, that it is not absolutely required. Is that correct?
You would be better better at answering that question than I am, but yes, I think that's correct.
Okay. And did you review the project? And I understand you're not, an architect or a planner, but did you review the project as to whether it complied with all the bulk standards within the RH1?
I did not. Zoning issues are really not my area of expertise, so I was not thinking about massing in that respect. I was thinking about the massing of the addition with respect to its relationship to the historic structure and how it changes the character of the historic structure and what impact that would have on the character of the historic district.
Okay. And let's see. I have no further questions.
Okay, so I just wanted to just go back to the RH1 zoning. I'm just gonna, because I believe
You have to
Mr.
forgive me. I mean, zoning issues, planning issues are not my area of
Right.
expertise.
I'm not going to try to make you testify about them. So I do just, Mr. Harrington asked you if the RH1 is a historic district, and I'm just going to read to you what the purpose clause of the RH1 says to see if that alters your opinion at all. But it says, Section 345-40, purpose. The purpose of this district is to preserve the pattern, quality, and architectural individuality of the existing detached 1 and 2 unit structures and to discourage subdivision and demolition. So is that
In that case, yeah.
something
you're
that
right.
would protect historic structures?
I do remember reading that at some point last week, so forgive me. But yes, in that case, I can't say that what's being proposed here is consistent with the purpose of the RH1 zoning.
Okay.
Because you're not protecting the original building envelope, you're changing its appearance from the front, you're changing its roof line, you're removing almost all of the building, really. You're just leaving 2 walls. And you're creating a condition that is also atypical for the interior of the block with the size of this addition and the ADU behind it.
Okay, and just going back to design standard number 7 in the RH1, it says buildings are to be sited on their lot so that their placement and relationship to surrounding property is equivalent to the existing pattern of development on the street. Do you?
When I read that, I thought that applied to new construction, but you can also, I think, read that in another way, that it applies to when you're considering additions on buildings. So I don't see an addition of this same volume, same height on this side of Sherman Place within this block. So I would say that's an atypical condition.
So would it be fair to say that this project as proposed doesn't meet design standard number 7?
I would agree with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do you have anyone else that you want to bring forward?
I have a question. Have you reviewed, you said you reviewed the demolition ordinance and section 345-30E1. You spoke to how the historic preservation officer should have requested shoring plans. Can you point me to the section of the ordinance where it gives
No, I
them
cannot.
that?
No, I cannot.
Okay.
I honestly don't know if it's in there. I don't remember reading it. This is my own opinion being given that if you're approving plans, and maybe this was the wrong place for me to make that comment, but if you're approving plans where you're removing the entire interior structure and leaving only 2 walls standing of a house, there should be shoring plans.
Are you familiar
Same
with
time.
how projects are permitted and the division of labor of the Housing, Economic Development and Commerce Department in Jersey City?
No.
Okay.
I've done my best to prepare for this, for comments related to historic preservation issues for this hearing tonight.
Okay, because I believe the shoring plan commentary was given to the question of your counsel as to whether or not the historic preservation officer followed permit procedures.
Then it's not a question of adherence to what's in the current regulation, but maybe it's something that needs to be considered at some other point in the approval process?
Perhaps by a different division or department of the city?
I don't have the expertise in Jersey City's structure of these agencies to be able to answer that.
Okay, I just want to say for the this is for the record, building permits were already issued and there are no engineering plans, just for the record. So this, the idea that somebody else is going to review something else at some future point in time, I think that might be, not clearly reflecting what happened here, that there are building permits were issued. Does the board have any questions for our expert?
I just want to stick on that point.
Yeah.
You're not appealing the building permits, you're appealing the permit procedure
Well,
was followed.
so what we've asked for relief is if the zoning approval is considered deficient, then we would ask the zoning officer's approval, we would ask the board, because the board does not have to defer to the zoning officer's decision. If the board determines that the zoning officer's approval was deficient for noncompliance with regulations, or because she didn't require certain variants, or that the partial demo wasn't adequately vetted, then what we would ask is for the board to rescind the zoning officer's approval of the plans and for the zoning officer to direct the building department to revoke the permit, because you cannot have a building permit without a valid zoning approval.
Okay. I feel like there was some testimony and we were about to get there, but we didn't fully get there. Can you
I'm not sure I understand. Is this
the character defining?
Okay, all right.
Can you describe the character defining elements of the building? What are those elements? Can you identify them?
So it's a Queen Anne style building. It's a Queen Anne style house. So that means you have asymmetrical roof lines, you have projecting bays, you have a plan for the house that has an interesting shape to it. In this case, it's sort of an L-shaped plan. You have at the top of it, you have a projecting pediment that rises above the covered porch. I'm assuming that its original wood cladding is still hiding underneath the asphalt shingle. So even though it has been altered over time, there are materials that probably can be restored easily, just based on my own experience. When people covered these houses in the 60s and 70s with asphalt shingle, they weren't taking the time to strip them of their decorative details first. Aside from that, it's the original building envelope itself is a character defining element. So that means not just what you can see from the street, but the back as well. So the back was built with an original fenestration pattern, maybe with a decorative cornice, maybe with some other decorative details. But really, it's more about the original footprint of the building.
May I interrupt for a moment, please? I'm looking at or questioning that you were saying there were no engineering plans, excavation plans, supportive plans. Do we have those plans? Have those plans been presented to us yet, to this board? I don't know if we've seen any of that. Do we have those plans?
We do not have those plans.
We do not have those plans. So then why are we even looking to, how did they get approval if there are no plans? We don't have these plans. We need those plans. Okay, so how did these permits get, yes,
Yeah,
Sure.
I'll address that when I bring my architect up and he can explain the process to you and what.
but were those plans already issued prior to the permits being awarded to the builder?
Again, I
Were they
can have-
passed here at this, were they approved here?
The plans that were submitted before you
Right.
were approved as part of
Okay.
the building permit process. And I can have our architect explain that process. Because what's before you is the zoning approval.
Right, okay.
So I have one question. Is this a as a right project?
Yes, that's our,
Well, we're disputing that.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
our position is as a right.
Oh, so you're disputing that?
It's a disputed issue.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Cynthia, are you finished with what you have to present? Do you have any other experts?
We have our, my client's going to be the fact witness tonight, but this is our only expert witness. I don't know which order you'd like to.
Well, why don't you bring your
ahead.
witnesses, and then we'll have Mr. Harrington
Okay.
present his.
Okay, so
Thank
our
you all
next-
for your time.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Thank you. Our next witness is Mr. Amatuzo. Did you bring your photos with you? Okay. Okay, keep one set for yourself. He got one already. Keep one for you. Yeah.
Not only that, but let me tell you something.
So, I have a packet of photos. It's about, how many is it? 10?
There's 13 of them there.
13 photos that my client
12 now.
prepared. These are from my client. He prepared a packet for everyone.
They're stapled.
But it's not six.
We're at A6, you said?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ah, the ordinance, right.
But it's not, it hasn't been declared yet as a historic.
Thank you very much.
So how long does that take?
Okay. Thank you.
Do you want to swear the witness?
Yes, I'm sorry. Just looking at the
I just feel like this man owns this property.
Thank you.
Do you swear that the testimony you will provide this evening will be the truth, the whole truth?
I don't think it was anything you called.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, he built like that.
Paul Amatuzo, Amatuzo.
You, witness is sworn. I'm sorry, in your address, please.
83 Sherman Place.
Thank you.
Okay, so good evening, Mr. Amatuzo.
Good evening, board. Thank you all for your time tonight.
Okay, so would you tell the board a little bit about your background and your connection to Jersey City?
Sure. My story begins at the Margaret Haig Hospital in 1963.
Jesus.
And
Don't go
I'm
that far.
still here. Yeah, my grandparents bought a house downtown in 1920, and they were never going to leave, and it forced all of us to stay. And I'm happy I did. So I've been in downtown. I lived downtown 42 years in several different locations in the Hamilton Park Historic District. And my background is in construction. Early on, I worked at a high-end construction company in Manhattan. From there, I had a landscaping business in downtown Jersey City and Hoboken. From there, I built sets for the soap operas. And then in 1996, I became a real estate agent in Jersey City, which I have been doing for the last 30 years.
Okay, and when did you first move to Sherman Place?
My first move to Sherman Place, because, well, if any of you grew up here, you all know there are 3 streets that everybody knows about: Sherman Place, Gifford Avenue, and Bentley Avenue. And they were always streets that myself growing up as a kid, my mom used to go to her doctor on Gifford Avenue, and as a little child, I was always in awe because the porch that I'd stand on was bigger than the house we lived in downtown. And I've always had a strong passion for beautiful houses. And that's what brought me to Sherman Place. One of the ladies in my office listed the house. I walked in there. I was very happy in my house downtown. And by the weekend, I had purchased a house. I show the owner of the house the restoration I did to my townhouse downtown, and she insisted that I be the person who gets her house. There were 6 other bids at the time.
Okay, and what year did you buy your house on Sherman Place?
2004.
Okay, and since the time you bought your house, and just briefly, what work have you done on your house?
If you all would like to switch to the next page of the photos. Recently, in this past year, we've had the entire outside of the house repointed, repainted. I just put those new steps in, which match the historic Victorian steps that were there. The ones I replaced were brick and limestone, and they were completely falling apart. So that's the last project I did. We put all new historic Marvin windows in to match our 1938 photograph, and we did these 10 years ago before there was even talk about Sherman Place being a historic district. I just felt like because the street was so intact that it deserved for that pattern to be continued.
Okay, and you've been very involved in your neighborhood and in the community. Could you briefly describe to the board what types of public service you've done and what things you've worked on?
My public service goes back to the mid-'70s. If any of you grew up here, you knew downtown Jersey City was a burned-out ghetto, mostly then. And it really bothered me because my family lived there, my grandparents lived there, my aunts and uncles. You could barely walk the streets. They were littered with trash. It was extremely unsafe. There was abandonment all over the place. And
but focus on what you've done.
So what I've done is I was president of Hamilton Park Neighborhood Association very early on when they formed in the late 70s. I joined that group. I was president by 1990 and 1991. We convinced the city not to demolish the gazebo in the middle of the park, which was in grave condition. And I planted the first community garden around it through my landscaping business at the time. From there, I moved up to the Heights, and that was in 2004. I want to say in 2006, myself and a bunch of the neighbors partnered with the New Jersey Tree Foundation and had 17 trees planted on Sherman Place because we were starting to see some empty spaces, and Sherman Place is known for its beautiful tree canopy. And then around 2017, a developer bought one of the mansions across the street and asked to meet with some of the neighbors when he said he wanted to put a 32-unit building where a 3-family mansion stood. We basically threw them out of the meeting, and he basically decided that he was not going to get into a conflict with us, and he restored the mansion the way it sat in the same footprint. He made 3 condos in the main building, and in the closed-in pool house, which was in the backyard, he turned that into the 4th unit. And then he removed over 1,000 square feet of cement from the backyard to create permeable green space for all the owners to use.
So was that like a
That
win-win?
That was a win-win for Sherman Place. And then right around after that, the city contacted us because development was starting to encroach to our neighborhood, and there was no neighborhood association. So we formed a neighborhood association of which I was elected president, given I had previous experience. And I stayed in that position from 2018 when we formed until 2025. And because COVID came in around 2020, which was when our offices were supposed to change, that never happened, and I just stood the course. I was on the Historic Preservation Commission for 15 years. Mayor Healy appointed me sometime around 2010, and I resigned in March of this year. And I think I missed 4 meetings in 15 years. I'm also an elected official for Ward D, District 21, which I've been committee man now for 6 years, I want to say.
Okay. And you recently, or not so recently, but you worked on getting this Sherman Place residential historic district in place. Can you tell us about that work?
Absolutely. So when we started to get development, we had spoke about possibly getting designation. I was on the commission at that time, and it seemed favorable. I spoke to Mayor Fulop. He said to me, if you can get the community behind you on this, I'll get behind you. So we reached out to a lot of the homeowners, and there's only about 200 houses in the district. So it's, compared to the other districts, it's quite small in size. We then were told we needed a survey, a historic survey. So we reached out to Hunter Research, who had just finished a few years back the West Bergen East Lincoln Park survey. The residents raised money, all of us homeowners. It cost us, I think, $18,000 out of our own money to have the survey done. And of course, that happened during COVID as well. So what should have taken probably a year ended up stretching all the way into 2023 before the survey was done. When the survey was done, the city then let us know that we needed to have a designation report done. So we reached back out to Hunter Research, and that price was going to be $12,000. So we were scrambling, and we decided to reach out to SHPO, which is the State Historic Preservation Office. They were giving out grant money for historic preservation projects. So Persian Field Neighborhood Association, we filled out the form. It was in April. SHPO contacted us that they had received our application, but they wanted to do a walkthrough of the district. So some of us met with 3 of the ladies from SHPO. We walked the whole district. A couple of days later, they notified us that the district was eligible for grant money, and they were going to submit our application. So that was in April. And then sometime around June, I want to say late June or July, Tanya Marione reached out to us and said that she had possibly found the money in the city's budget in one of their coffers that had money left in it that had to be spent. So lo and behold, the city came up with the $12,000 for our designation report, and we were absolutely thrilled. So we contacted SHPO, and we withdrew our application, but they did give us a certificate of eligibility for the district when they came. And I believe we have that in the record someplace.
Yes. So now, focusing on this development project, how did you first find out about the project plan at 85 Sherman?
When the house went up for sale, we noticed there was a lot of activity, a lot of young families standing outside, people coming and going. And back in February, I want to say, I believe that Mr. Patel had come to purchase the house, and he was a developer, and I believe he inquired with the city with planning for a determination, of which he was given a determination letter that stated that he could not demolish the house and that there were strict design standards that had to be followed on any kind of improvement that was going to happen there. So he passed, and he decided not to purchase the house. A few more weeks went by, and I noticed that the house went into contract. On April 16th, the house closed. And about a week and a half later, I noticed a crew show up. There was a demolition permit, an interior demolition permit was given, and they gutted the house completely within a week. Every single thing on the inside was gone. Walls, floors, gone. So about 2 weeks, 3 weeks went by, and I was getting suspicious because silence equals death in this town. And I reached out to Miss Marione on June the 3rd, and I through an email, and I said, and I also CC'd Michael, and I said, can you please tell me what's going on at this address? I'm getting a little suspicious. It's a little too quiet. Tanya immediately emailed me back and said, funny you should ask. I just approved those plans. And I thought to myself, she approved the plans. It's been 6 weeks since the house closed. How could we have full plans approved? So she sent them to me, and I looked at the plans, and I immediately noticed that the 125-year-old tree that was in front of the house was missing from the current site conditions on the plans. The piece of grass that's left, because there's 2 parking spaces to the left when you pull into the front of the house, 2 parking spaces and 8 feet of grass. And on the plans, it said that they were going to continue with the 3 parking places that were already there. And the tree was not in the plan, the old tree.
Okay,
But
so
they
there
did-
was a
It was a
misrepresentation on the plans.
misrepresentation.
Okay.
They omitted the tree, they added parking that they said was already there, and they had a new tree planted next to my driveway in their drawing. And then I noticed that they were demolishing part of the house in order to create access to an ADU. And I specifically remember when we walked around with Matt Ward and a bunch of other people from the neighborhood associations, and we spoke about ADUs, that it was explained to us that it was only for existing structures that existed in backyards that had access of their own from the street, AKA a garage, an old shed building, or some other structure that did not need access from the main house, and that those could either be have a story added on to them because they would only be a 2-story limit, and you could either put a story on top, convert the garage, or make both things the accessory dwelling unit.
Okay, when you say when you walked around with Matt, do you mean the sort of public participation that was
Yes, it
part of
was-
the master plan
Yes.
process?
Yes, that's when we walked around. We walked around the northern part of the Heights, and Matt also explained to us at the time that they were looking to upzone the corners so that they can put larger buildings at corners to complete the streetscape. And I pointed out that that could be a good idea, but not every corner in Jersey City can accommodate 100% lot coverage,
Okay.
because not every corner is.
Okay, but let's okay. So just now, at some point you received a second set of revised plans.
Yes.
When was that?
The second set of revised plans came on July the 25th.
Okay, and what was your now? Did you understand why there was a second? Like, why did they revise the plans?
They revised the plans because in the first set of plans, we found the debacle with the tree. It turned out they needed 4 variances. The lot coverage was almost 80%. And there was the lot coverage, the tree in the front, the parking place. The last one evades me at the moment. But we kicked that back to Miss Marione, and the new plans were approved, I believe, the day she received them from the owner of 85.
Okay, and so the original set of plans, everyone had said they were zoning compliant, but in reality, it turned out they were not. Okay. So what was your reaction to the second set of plans?
The second set of plans I thought were just as bogus and egregious as the first set of plans. The addition was still 35 feet beyond the original house, making it 85 feet long, and a 3-story addition from the attic out. There's no addition on Sherman Place that's that big, at least on my side of the street. It does not follow the development pattern of the block. There's no ADUs, there's no additions.
Okay.
And if they are, they're 1-story.
Okay, and now, did you try to communicate with Miss Marione after you received the second set of plans?
No.
Okay. Now, could you just describe what it is about the size and scale? I mean, you sort of just talked about it, but just if you could just quickly explain, like, what is it about the size and scale of the project that you find so objectionable?
Okay, well, if you look at the cover photograph I sent you all, that is the aerial view of our backyards, and it takes you from 75 Sherman Place to 99 Sherman Place, okay? So 75 Sherman Place is the house on the far right. It's an original house. And then at some point in time, 77 was a Victorian house. And in 1975, before we had zoning, it was torn down and they put these condos in place, filling not the entire lot. There's still about 40 feet left behind, and it's used for parking. And then in 1988, number 81, which is the house next to me, subdivided. And that's where the second house comes in, which is 79, which also is an intrusion into the backyard space. But if you look at the rest of the streetscape, none of us has an addition. None of us has an ADU. We don't have, actually the houses with the beige roof, you see parking in the back, but that's because they have full access. Their lot is, I think, 60 or 75 feet wide, with driveways on either end, with garages in the back. So that's been their setup from day one. But the rest of us don't have garages or anything in the back.
Okay.
So I brought you this so you could see the current situation of what our backyard situation is.
Okay, now, if the project goes forward, how will you be affected?
Well, if the project goes through, the way I will be affected is if you go to 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth photograph, okay? This is the view from my deck looking toward 85. The white plastic that you see on the ground is the addition. 3 stories high will be a wall for me. And it blocks out all of our light, all of our air, and it walls us in. Because on Manhattan Avenue, at the end of our property, there's a 5-story pre-war building. And then we have 79 and 77, 77 and 79 who block us in from the east light and air. So with 85 being extended the way it is, it basically cuts our beautiful atrium, I want to say arboretum-like space that we all collectively share together from each other's house or deck or whatever, and it cuts it in half. So because of 77 and 79, my neighbors at 81 and myself, we get no morning light. So our yards are in the shade in the morning. So if 85 gets built next to me here, I'll never get any light from the west. So I'll only get the sun when it's up above. In the wintertime, the 5-story building in the back cuts out everybody's light. The sun is below it. So all the backyards halfway up are in the shade all winter long. So that's how it'll affect me. The next picture, if you look, is my current backyard space, which I have spent 20 years creating. I have spent tens of thousands of dollars landscaping this space, having professionals come to trim, to plant, and for it to lose all of its western light is just going to be a ruination. Aside from the fact that many of the tree roots have been cut already because the owners of 85 started excavating the backyards without having permission to do it. We had a stay issued, and they still came and did work.
Okay.
Permits were issued after the stay was issued.
Okay.
Which should not have happened.
Okay, let me just ask you now, if this project goes forward, how will the planned district be affected?
If this happened, the planned district will definitely be affected because it's going to set precedent, not only for the district, but for the whole city. Because it means anybody who decides that they want to put an ADU in their backyard can come before the city and say, I want to knock 5 feet off my house because I want to put an ADU in the backyard. Is this the kind of precedent that we want to set here in Jersey City? No. At this point in time, with all the development that's going on, Every inch of space is being built on, bulked up, big buildings on corners, big buildings everywhere you go. Do we have to ruin every street in Jersey City? Seriously.
Okay.
And the thing that hurts most about this is that the city has been our partner. For 6 years, they have denied additions, demolitions, all kinds of stuff that people wanted to do within the district have been denied up until April.
Okay. Could you just briefly describe what's the pattern of development on your side of Sherman?
The pattern of development on my side, on my block of Sherman Place has been, we have a couple of pre-war intrusions. There's one at 63 Sherman Place. There's one and two on Manhattan Avenue. We have 75 Sherman Place, which is in the picture, the big condo building, and 79 Sherman Place, which was built in the 80s. There has been nothing happen on our street in 40 years. So that has been the development pattern of the street.
But what was
People
the
have been-
pattern? What was the original pattern, though, that
The
you're
original
seeking
pattern
to
before,
preserve?
the original pattern before were open spaces and, our large lots were known for our 200-foot lots that create a park-like space. And there were almost no intrusions until that point in time.
Okay, and what, will this addition be visible from
Yes.
any vantage points?
If you go to 1, 2, 3, the fourth page of my photographs, this is the view from Sanford Place, which is also in our district. You can clearly see the back of my house with the orange windows, and you can clearly see 85, which is next to me with the pitched roof and the dormer. Now, by putting a 3-story, 37-foot addition on this house, you completely wall out my house and the yellow house, which are also historic structures on Sherman Place and are in the district. So this is completely noticeable from the public right-of-way. It's not just the facade in the front that you're going to notice, because if you look at the house from the front, it starts out narrow, and as it steps back, it steps out. It steps back, it steps out. So by cutting off the last step out and putting it in line with the bay window, that's a character-defining feature that you are removing. It's noticeable from the street.
Okay. And just as a final question, so this is an appeal of a zoning approval.
Cynthia, we take a 5-minute break. One of the commissioners
Oh.
had to leave.
Oh, my
for a bit.
apologies. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
That's
Oh.
okay. You didn't notice it. You're.
Sure.
Was it?
Yeah. Yes.
It's the 5-minute break.
Okay,
so
thank
it's
you.
7:30, 7:35.
Thank you.
Who had to go to the bathroom for 2 seconds? Don't know. Don't know.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So we're back on the record. Mr. Amatuzzo, you saw a memorandum dated August 1st that was prepared by the city's senior historic preservation specialist, Michael Achimov. And what did you think about that memo?
But wait a second. You're going to have him comment on the HPC's.
It's part of the record. This is an appeal.
Yeah, but who is he to comment on it? He's not an expert. What is he going to say? He doesn't agree with it, obviously. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here. Can he say anything other than that? No.
Well, I don't think you know what he's going to say until he starts talking.
Do you agree with the report?
Not at
No.
all.
Thank you. Okay, next question.
Okay, and you saw the, well, what was the date on that report?
I don't recall
Okay.
what the date was, but I can tell you that because, in my opinion, Michael should have referred that to the HPC, which is a board I sat on for 15 years. I believe I said that before. Because when 32 Sherman Place was denied 3 times by demolition, by our demolition ordinance, he challenged, the owner, Mr. Barato, challenged that at the state appellate level. And the state appellate ruling was that one person was no longer to make determinations about demolitions. It had to go before the commission.
Okay, and I'm sure since this board was a defendant in that case, and your attorney,
Attorney on that case.
Yeah.
That's not quite what the appellate division said, but that was the gist of it, but that's not quite what they said.
right,
The gist
right.
of it.
Well, we'll talk about that in the summation because I think it is important precedent for this board. Okay, so and then you saw, well, you. So this is an appeal of Ms. Marion's zoning approval.
Yes.
So obviously you think she made a mistake when she issued that approval. Could you just summarize what it is you feel she did that was a mistake?
Yes, she did not take the time to look over the plans carefully, to notice that it had needed 4 variances. She admitted in an email that she never noticed that there was a partial demolition that was involved with this application. She never noticed that the tree in the front was missing from the plans. You know why?
Can I just?
You know why? Now let
I'm
me
sorry,
finish.
yes.
Because she never did a site visit, and neither did Michael. And I sat on the Historic Commission for 15 years, and part of the deal is you need to do a site visit so that you have a complete understanding of the building and what is about to happen there. You can't go by what an architect says or what the owner says. You need to physically go there and look for yourself.
Okay, anything?
That was not done.
Anything else about the approval that you found to be just anything else that was a problem?
Yeah, the demolition of the house that she did not notice, that the back wall was also going to disappear. How do you not have plans or some sort of something to back that up? You're just going to take somebody's word that they know what they're doing?
Okay. Now you have some more photos you wanted to show the
Yes.
board.
Just to go through the photos quickly. On the third photo, you can see that we've restored the complete back of our house to its original form. All the details, siding, Marvin windows throughout. Who puts Marvin windows in the back of their house? But I did because this was going to be a district. Okay? Restored the whole back of the house. Page 4 we saw already. Page 5 we saw. Page 6 we saw. Page 7 is the view out the window where you could see the current edition of 85. And I could see the view is all the way out to the west. I could see the hills of West Orange. We see sunset if you continue flipping through the page. This is our winter view across the backyards out to the west. This is the fall view on the next page. And then you have our all the time amazing sunsets. And all this will disappear. And when I brought Mr. Melms to my house so we can have a man-to-man conversation about what he was going to do, he was not concerned about my view. He was not concerned about my property value, because this being walled in definitely takes away from your property value. And anybody who's ever watched HGTV knows it. If you have a house that faces a view, or your house faces the wall, the house with the view is worth more money and more desirable. So now I'll be facing a wall to the east, to the west, and to the south in a courtyard. not what I signed up for, not what Sherman Place is about, not what Sherman Place was designed to be.
Okay, and I actually have one last exhibit I'd like to show you, and that we've been referring to throughout the hearing. This is entitled City of Jersey City Local Landmark Designation Report, Sherman Place Residential Historic District, prepared for City of Jersey City Division of Planning. So it's dated December 2024. It's a 524-page report, so I just printed it out without the appendices, but I just would like you to identify that.
Yes, this is the report that Hunter Research was hired to do by Jersey City. It was the last phase of getting our information together, all of our documentation together. As I spoke before, the residents paid for the first part, which was almost $20,000. And then miraculously, Tanya found the $12,000 to finish this. And when we got it in, I remember her email to Maggie and myself saying, what else do we got to do to get this done? Let's get this done. Let's get this done. And here it is September. We haven't moved a word forward. The district hasn't moved an inch forward.
Okay, and then this is also from the survey of the report. Could you just describe that for the
Sure.
for the board?
This is the survey from the, is this from the SHPO office or is this from?
It's part of the appendix of the
It's
Hunter report.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's part
Yeah.
of the appendix of the Hunter research. And it basically shows the development pattern of the street and how all the houses are in line with each other and nobody's house, aside from the two I mentioned earlier, 77 and 79, are the only intrusions on our side of the street. It also says that the exterior finish has asbestos shingles. The hip front-facing cross gable and east-facing cross gable roofs are asphalt shingles. It has a box cornice, a stucco chimney.
But mainly, I just wanted you to. I guess probably shouldn't have surprised you like that. Does this say that 83 Sherman Place is a contributing?
85, yes.
I'm sorry, 85 Sherman
Yes.
Place is a contributing
Yes, it does.
structure to the planned historic district.
Yes.
Okay, so I did just for the record want to include the Hunter research report and the part of the appendix that addresses 85
And this is from
Sherman and have that marked in as an exhibit.
It's marked contributing.
A7?
I think so.
I think so.
Yes.
That's it for us, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Harrington?
Just have one moment more, please, before I
Okay, how are you, Mr. Amatuzzo?
Good, Chuck. How are you?
Good, thanks. So, yeah, you showed photographs of your property, and my understanding is you've owned it since 2004. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and I acknowledge that your property looks great. So you did a lot of improvements since 2004, correct?
Yes. A lot of
And-
restoration work.
Right, and am I correct in my assumption that you did not go to the Historic Preservation Commission for the approval of any of those improvements?
Not for windows. The steps in the front of the house are considered a general maintenance
but-
repair, and the paint job, no.
But we can agree that you weren't required to go to the Historic Preservation Commission because it's not a historic district, right?
No.
No, you don't agree
No,
with that?
let's rephrase that. The city has changed their ordinance, so you can put a roof on your house, you can paint your house. You
Please
can
speak into the
Make
mic.
general maintenance repairs. You can make general maintenance repairs without requiring a permit.
But if you were in a historic district, you'd be required to go to historic preservation for
Yes.
a number of these, correct? Okay, thank you. And you talked about Mr. Patel, who I guess allegedly was looking to buy the property, the subject property. Are you aware if that request for demolition was for a full demolition or a partial demolition?
Full.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And you spoke about the variances that were on the initial set of plans, correct? And you're aware that those have been addressed during the updated plans?
I'm aware of it.
Okay. So the plans that are now before this board do not have those variances, correct?
No, they don't.
Okay. Okay. And did you get a chance to review the report, the HPO report that Michael
Yes.
prepared? Okay. And did you get a chance to review the Sanborn map that was attached to that?
Yes.
And can we agree that the Sanborn map shows that there were structures in rear yards within this neighborhood on the Sanborn map?
Yes, but they have disappeared, and the ones that had structures had access. This house does not have access.
But
It
isn't
has 2 feet.
Right, as a former member of the Historic Preservation Commission, don't you look at the history of the properties as well when reviewing an application?
Absolutely.
Okay. And is your house still listed for sale?
My house hasn't been for sale since February.
Okay, but it was listed.
It was for sale, but I'm not going anywhere now.
Okay. And when did you took it down in February, you're saying?
Yes, when the house next door to me went up for $1 million less than my house, I had no choice but to take my house off the market, Chuck.
Okay.
What was the point of that?
So if you took it down in February, that happened before this application was
Right,
filed.
but the house went up for sale when my house went up for sale, and I was not going to leave my house up for sale for $1 million more when the house next door had crowds of people outside for $700,000.
Okay. Okay. That's all I have for Mr.
Okay,
Appizer.
I have like a quick redirect. So, but did you ever propose to do a partial demolition of your home?
Never, and never would.
Okay, and when you're comparing the accessory structures that were on Sherman Place through, the period of significance of the planned district, how would you compare that to what the applicant's proposing here?
There's no comparison because some of the houses, like 91 and 93, still have their garages in the back. They're only 20 feet deep, if that, to put a carriage in. They're not 35 feet deep and 2 stories high. They're just single-story garages. Thank you. Is that it?
I have a question.
Yeah.
As a member of the Historic Preservation Commission, how many years you served?
15.
Over those 15 years, did you ever see applications with rear additions?
With what?
With rear additions?
Absolutely.
Were they approved?
Some,
Yeah.
some not. It depends on the development pattern of the street.
Okay.
That's what we always go by.
Okay.
And of course, if it's visible from the public right of way.
There are often breaks, though. Like, I feel downtown, there's often breaks on the corners, right? You can see an oblique. In those cases, do you remember if there was ever an addition that was approved?
No. I would
Oh, you
say.
don't remember?
No, I remember. If something was visible from the public right of way, it typically was not approved. And even if it was a railing on a roof deck, we made sure they would change the railing to be less visible, move it back. And any additions that, and Historic has approved many 3-story additions in the downtown district. But they follow the development pattern of the block. So if 6 houses in the row of 10 already have additions, then you're following the design pattern of the street. The street I'm on, nobody has an addition 3 stories high and 35 feet deep. So this would be the first intrusion.
Okay.
Mr. Harrington?
Do you have anything else to present or do?
Yeah, I have my architect and planner.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Who's the vendor?
Yes, sir.
He's the owner.
Who's the guy in the back? The guy in the red shirt you're talking
No,
about?
no, no, the red shirt guy is running on Dave's ticket. Jeremiah Hill is here. She's running on the Greavy's ticket. Who's going to talk
In what petition?
Yes, I do.
against the project?
Jeffrey Lewis, Lewis.
The guy in the back and
Yeah, oh,
the seat
We
in the
wanna-
aisle on the left-hand side is the owner, who's making faces like crazy.
Oh, the
Can-
guy in the white shirt?
Mr. Lewis, he has testified before this board.
Yes, number of times.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, Mr. Lewis, can you also give us the board the benefit of your experience
Sure.
with historic properties?
Sure. Yeah, I do want to mention, since everyone else is talking about their bona fides here, I have worked on historic buildings in Jersey City, and I think more importantly, I am the recipient of a state preservation, a historic preservation award from the Historic Preservation Office of the state of New Jersey. I received that for my work done on 301 Market Street in Camden, New Jersey. It was a building listed on the 10 most endangered buildings in the state of New Jersey, and it's now a senior citizen building with 35 senior units. So I've done this before too.
Okay, and Mr. Lewis, the plans that you have before you, and we're looking at, are these, and these are the plans that were submitted for the zoning review? Is
That's
it-
correct, yes.
Okay, and in your experience in Jersey City, on your projects, are these plans typical and consistent with what you would submit for zoning review and building permits?
Yes.
And can you explain why? Or take us through what's part of these
Sure.
plans?
I mean, I can go through the process. Generally, the zoning board, the zoning department is not concerned with structural things, with lighting, electric, mechanical, plumbing. Those are generally plans that go to the building department. So our first set of plans is usually just floor plans, elevations, and site plans showing what we're doing on the site. Those are the things that are generally the purview of the zoning board or the zoning department. They want to know, are we complying with, anything for variances regarding the building. After that process is when after that gets approved, that's when we go to the building department, and that's when we do our mechanical, electrical, plumbing drawings. That's when we do our structural drawings. So those generally aren't part of the process for submitting to the zoning board.
Okay. And when, in your experience and understanding of the premise, this is not a historic district, but when you do an application or a plan for a property in a historic district, are the requirements for the project and the plans a lot more detailed?
Oh yeah, there are many more pages of details for historic districts.
So, but would you be expected to provide for that type of detail in this application?
No.
And why is that?
That's just not the level of detail that the building department needs to approve as a right building.
Okay. And let's maybe at this point, could you take us through the plans and touch upon the changes and some of the historic preservation efforts that they're
Sure.
making as part of this project?
I do want to start just by showing the existing front and rear of the building again. We've talked a lot about the historic character of the building, which is really the shape of the building that's left, the mass. However, most of the details you can see are gone. However, I'll show our proposed plan, our proposed elevations. We're actually doing some restoration work. We're bringing this elevation more into line with the 1938 tax card that we have. So you can see.
Sorry to interrupt you, but can you speak to the 1938 tax card? Why is that significant? Why?
Well, that's really
Just
Jersey.
for the board. I don't know. They're not the HPC.
That's something that was done in the city of Jersey City. It was done in many cities during the Depression to keep people in work, really. But it has the photograph of the building in 1938, along with what the building was used for, the number of floors, number of bedrooms, all the details about the building itself. So it's a really nice reference that you have in the city to go back and restore these buildings to closer to what they were.
That's kind of like the magical point in time that they refer to for restoration or preservation.
Right, because that's the best information we have of the past.
Thank you.
So the things, you can see there's a lot that's not original here that we would be restoring to come as close as we can to that. So for example, these lattice metal columns are not original. Basically, this whole porch is not original. It's all been rebuilt. The brick is not original. The railings aren't original. The windows, you can see it has this kind of triple window here. That's not a historic window. That's not how we did it. So we're restoring the window pattern back to what it was previously. Again, I'll show you that when we get to the front. This is the back. I failed to see the historic character here personally. Again, this is not an original window. This is not the original finish. This is not an original porch. This is a brick foundation, which has been stuccoed over. Again, just to reference the existing to start with. And then would you like me to go right to the new elevation so we can?
Yeah, let's keep moving on that.
So here we have the new front elevation. So we can see we are replacing the siding with the vinyl siding is going to be removed, and it's going to be hardy plank siding, which is it's obviously not what was there originally, but it's more appropriate, I would say, and more stronger, to be honest with you, than the vinyl siding. It's a much better look. We are replacing some of the details at the top. We're keeping some of the details that are still there below the main roof. You can see at this at the porch, these are new columns that we're adding. I mentioned the windows, that we're adding these 4 new windows. It's new railing. It is a new brick, and that's one of the things we agreed to. Do we want to get into that now?
Yeah, yeah. Why don't we just note that for the record? You reviewed Mr. Ward's report that he submitted.
Yes.
And you remember he referenced one possible variance with regard to the brick that was on the plan.
Right.
Okay. And what are we going to do to address that?
Right. So we were proposing a brick veneer. It's the same as a brick, but it's only like 1/2 inch thick. That was deemed to not be appropriate, so we are going to be using a full brick here. On the addition, that's very easy. It's just a different wall. It's part of the construction. At the existing building, they are existing brick foundation walls, so we are actually, but they're painted, so that it's not really something we're going to be able to bring back to what it was. So we are going to remove the first course of that brick and replace it with a new brick, so that everything is going to match here, and that includes the porch as well.
And then that then eliminates any variances within this project, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Where do you want to go next?
Maybe go. Let's talk about the addition and what's being partially demolished.
Sure. I think here on the first floor might be the easiest way to show it. So we can see here, there's a section of building that's dotted. It's about 30 feet long at the back of the building. That's currently about 30 inches off of the property line. If this building was being built today, that would not be allowed. Not just for the addition, not just for the ADU, but the existing building itself. And I'll go to that plan just to make that clear, because we do have a demolition plan. So the existing building, here are the existing plans, and you can see on the first floor we have 2 bedrooms in the back here. So these people would not have an accessible means of egress out of their bedrooms, which is a building code violation. And on the 3rd floor, we actually have a window facing that property line, which again is not in compliance with the building code. You need to have 3 feet minimum for a window. So if you tried to build the existing building today, it would be denied, and we would have to change it. So that is the main impetus for cutting that wall out and bringing it in. It's to make the entire building compliant from a fire safety point of view.
Hey, let me just take a sidestep here. Where we have all these sheets here, and you have references. You said this is a demolition plan, and it says D1 in the bottom right-hand corner. What are the significance? Because there was a question about structural and civil plans. So
Sure.
What do those mean?
Again, this is just a simple demolition plan. This is just a floor plan showing the walls that are going to be removed, which were the interior walls, the back wall, and then, as was mentioned, 30 feet of this side wall. Further in the set, I have the whole set not up, but somewhere else because it's just so big. It's like 30 sheets. There are structural sheets of details. There's 5-6 sheets of all the structural details for the new foundation walls, for all the new walls, all the new details. So that is part of our construction set. And as an architect, I am licensed to do that. I don't need to have an engineer. Architects are allowed to do those drawings.
And that's why we don't have separate civil engineering plans here, correct?
Correct.
Let's maybe. I'd like to talk about the ADU in the back. But before we get there, if you could give us a little bit about your experience in Jersey City with the construction or applications for accessory dwelling units. Have you been involved in any?
Sure, yes. I have done a few accessory dwelling units. They are pretty popular. They're an interesting way to get an additional apartment on a property that can fit it. And construction-wise, they have been pretty easy to construct. They're not huge construction. Most of these buildings only have alleyways to get into the back, and we haven't had any problems with that so far.
And have you had accessory dwelling units approved?
Yes.
Okay, and have they been limited to the adaptive use of existing structures in the back, or just new construction?
No, that's not how the ordinance is written.
Okay.
The ordinance is pretty clear that you can build a new accessory dwelling unit.
Okay. And I don't know, anything else maybe you want to show if you could speak to the accessory dwelling unit as part of this project.
Sure. Another thing I do want to mention, which is a little strange about this site and most sites, is I want to go back to the side elevation just so you can see. We are sloping down here. So I think calling this a 3-story building is a little disingenuous. It's 2 stories with a basement. That's a walkout basement in the back. You can see that the new addition is actually lower than the roof line. The floor for the new addition is actually at the same level as the floor not of the floor, I'm sorry, but this is actually the parapet. So about 4 feet down from that parapet is where the actual floor is of this roof. So we're lower than the existing roof line. This is not something that you're going to see from the street. It's hidden behind our roof. Going back, you want to go back to the accessory dwelling unit? Or?
Yes, please.
So accessory dwelling units in Jersey City are allowed to be 2 stories. They're a maximum of 18 feet, so it's 8 foot, it's 9 foot, 9 foot, and that's it. It's flat roof, very simple building. We are allowed to have 2 feet side yards and a 2-foot rear yard setback, and we're proposing more than that here. We have a 3-foot side yard, and we have 10 foot in the rear of the building. So, again, we're only building a 2-family building, a 2-bedroom accessory dwelling unit where it would have been easier to build something larger, and we decided not to. The apartment itself is just living, dining, kitchen on the ground floor, as I mentioned, and then the floor above, it's 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and there is no use of the roof, so we're not proposing a roof deck on this either. We purposely gave the 10 feet here so that the dwelling unit, the accessory dwelling unit, could have its own little private backyard.
Okay. And anything else you want to point out about the project, or is that?
As far as the accessory dwelling unit, I would say that that's it. As far as the building itself, I would note a few things, just that I do understand the tree was left out. The tree was never
noted to be demolished. It was never going to be cut down. Just because a tree isn't shown on the drawing doesn't mean it's going to get cut down. You have to actually ask to cut down the tree. We did get forestry's approval here. And then I guess
Not to cut it down.
not
We
to
didn't
cut
get
it down.
approval to cut it down.
No, we got approval for the project to
Right.
not cut any trees down. I'm sorry.
Correct.
I'm sorry for that.
Let me ask you, I just want to, it's not directly in the plans. There was a comment earlier, a surprise that plans could be submitted and approved in 6 weeks. In your experience and working in Jersey City, is that something that's impossible, or is that something that can be done?
No, it's not impossible at all. It's very easy to finish a set of plans like this. If you have a larger office, you can do this in a few weeks.
Excuse me. Okay, repeat your answer.
Sure. If you have an office with some people working for you, you can finish a set of drawings like this in a week or two.
And not, I mean, would this be a smaller scale project?
Yeah, a two-unit building is a smaller scale project, yes.
Okay.
And I do think, I guess the other thing we should note is the bulk of this building is fully in compliance with the zoning ordinance. This is exactly what Jersey City tells us to build here. We're not asking for a single variance for height, for the bulk of the building, for setbacks. We're in compliance with the RH1 zone 100% as far as we're concerned and as far as I think the city is concerned.
And you, again, just not to repeat it, but I guess I am, you have been involved in the approval and construction of ADU structures throughout the city, right?
Yes. And I think, again, in this zone, it's very clear that ADUs are an allowable use.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have for Mr. Lewis.
Cynthia?
Hi.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Lewis. Hold on, I'm going to put my notebook down.
Cynthia, it's easier to ask the questions from over here,
Yeah.
where you were
Okay.
before.
Oh, you can go back there. I'm sorry. I can turn around. I got it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Lewis. Now, were you the architect who signed and sealed these plans?
No.
Who was the architect?
I believe it's Min Kill who signed those drawings
Okay, and why are you here presenting someone else's plans?
because we work in the same office.
Okay, when you say work in the same office, are you like a regular employee?
I work with and for Hampton Hill Architecture.
Okay, in what capacity?
I generally review drawings for them, I help them with design, and I do their presentations.
Okay, but you're not like a salaried employee at Hampton Hill?
No,
Okay. Were you the point of contact with the zoning department on these plans?
no,
Were you the point of contact with the building department?
no,
Did you talk to Michael Achimov about the prior approval review that he did?
no.
Okay.
Like you, I was not involved in that.
Okay. So, okay, that answers my question. All right. Now, you just mentioned that ADUs that are new construction are being approved all over the city. Is that correct?
I did.
Okay. Do you know which addresses? Do you have any addresses in mind?
I can't, not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask you this. Do you know if what the ownership structure is of those ADUs?
And that's not really the architect's purview, no.
Okay, so let me ask you a hypothetical question. If an ADU is a condominium and the ADU is sold as a separate condominium unit, is it still an accessory structure?
Yes,
Okay, what is it an accessory to?
accessory dwelling unit.
Okay, but do you know what the definition of an accessory building structure or use is?
I know what the accessory dwelling unit is defined as.
How is that defined?
I mean, you can read it if you like.
is it considered a permitted use or an accessory use?
This is a permitted use in the RH1 zone. It's very clear.
Okay.
It's number 9 in the permitted uses.
It's actually number 9 in the permitted accessory uses, not in the permitted uses.
Accessory dwelling unit and it's
Okay,
accessory use.
so wouldn't you admit that a permitted use is different than a permitted accessory use?
No, I don't think I would.
Okay, doesn't an accessory use have to be an accessory to a principal building or a principal use?
You know, the first word in ADU is accessory.
That's right.
It's
So
an accessory to the building, to the main building.
Okay, and what makes it an accessory?
That it's not the main building.
Okay, so I'm just gonna
It's
read.
Cynthia, you're losing me. What are you trying to establish? That an accessory building has to be attached or has to be?
Well, okay, so the definition of so
I
there's
know what it
certain
is.
permitted uses. I think the permitted uses in the zone are, like 1 or 2 family dwellings. And then there are certain accessory uses.
Right.
So if you have an accessory dwelling unit, it has to be an accessory to a principal structure. And the definition of an accessory building structure use is a building structure use which is customarily associated with and is subordinate and incidental to the principal building structure or use, and which is located on the same lot therewith. And I guess we'll probably get into this with the planning department, but if it's accessory, any accessory use, whether it's a dwelling unit or a garage or a pool, has to be an accessory to a principal use.
Okay.
If it's separately owned, or if it's an investment property with an assortment of different
Wait,
owners,
so I get it. So time out. So
it's
you're
not an
assu-
accessory anymore. It's a second principal use.
Yeah, but you're
It's a
assuming-
second principal use.
Is she testifying?
I don't-
or is
I
there a
don't-
He asked me a question and I was trying to answer it.
So you're assuming that this accessory building is going to be a condo unit?
We don't
sale.
know that yet, but I think I'm speaking to him saying these are legal throughout Jersey City, and I actually think there may be a legal issue if it's not genuinely an accessory use, if it's a second principal use on the same lot. And if there's a separate ownership or different tenants occupying each unit and it's an investment property, then I think the question arises as to whether the accessory dwelling unit is housing a real accessory use or if it's a second principal use. I think there's a legal problem with the way the city's applying the ordinance.
Yeah, but that's not
I don't
for
think
us.
that's, yeah, I think that's a question for me.
We're not
It
dealing with
it
that.
is because the application of the ordinance is something the board, I think there's another interpretation that you can read into the ordinance. Now, maybe it's not zoning, the zoning officer's interpretation, but I think the board's free to interpret what an accessory use is in the RH1, what an accessory dwelling unit that's an accessory use in the RH1 is. The board's free to apply this ordinance to this application and determine that the zoning officer made a mistake.
Yeah, but we're not free to speculate that this owner, who we don't even know,
Yeah, that's true.
is going to make this a condo and sell this to somebody else. We're not free to speculate.
Right, that's true.
that.
So then later,
For us. What
Well-
before us is whether the zoning officer made a proper determination. Not whether the owner is going to do something in the future with this ADU.
Well,
That's
let's-
not our issue. We're just
Well-
wasting our time here. You're making the record go like this for no reason. That's not what we're here for.
Let's just continue.
all right. So are you familiar with the process for prior approvals in the new demo ordinance?
Sure. Well, I mean, the one that was online, I don't know if they're different than the
Okay,
recently adopted.
so you haven't seen the new ordinance that's not yet codified?
Right.
Okay. Do you have a copy of the 1938 tax photo?
I can represent that it's in Mr. Chimos' report for the board's reference.
Okay. Now, you said that it's okay for an architect to prepare demolition plans.
Yes.
Okay, and if it's a really complicated demolition, would you want to bring in an engineer?
This is not a complicated demolition, but if it was, yes.
Okay, why do you think it's not a complicated demolition?
It's a wood frame building with outside bearing walls. It's pretty easy.
And how many walls are being demolished?
1.5.
Okay. Now, you had said this is in compliance with the RH1 zoning regulations. Were you referring to the bulk standards or the design standards?
I'm referring to the bulk standards.
Okay, do you know whether it's in compliance with the design standards?
I believe that it is.
Okay. If it weren't in compliance with the design standards, would the zoning officer be free to waive compliance?
That's a question for them, not me.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have anything further for Mr. Lewis.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll
you.
now move to the,
Well, you might have
oh,
another
you
witness.
have something else? I'm
Our
sorry.
planner, yeah,
Oh, okay.
Mr. Bellamy.
Do you swear that the testimony you will provide this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name.
Samuel Bellamy, last name Bellamy.
Thank you. Witness is sworn.
And Mr. Bellamy has appeared many times before this board and the planning board, so I'd offer him
Yes.
as an expert as a planner.
We accept his qualifications.
Okay,
Great,
thank-
and my license is current and in good standing, and for the record, licensed professional planner with the firm Dresner Robin.
Thank you. So, Mr. Bellamy, did you have an opportunity to review the proposed plan and the zoning related to it?
Yeah, so I did review the proposed plan. I also reviewed the review memos prepared by the city's review planner as well as the historic preservation officer. In respect to the bulk criteria, so we've been referring to it as the RH1 zone. For the record, that's residential housing district, large lots, and 1 is the denominator there, so 1 and a 2 district, and the difference just is the lot type for that. So with respect to the bulk criteria, as our architect testified to, this project does comply with all the bulk standards in the RH1 zone. It is a permitted height. We are a permitted rear yard setback with the addition. I will note that setback standard is a 40% requirement. That's for lots 120 feet or deeper, which this lot is. So that lot, that requirement's directly proportional. So larger, deeper lots have a greater rear yard setback, and in this case, that's a 78-foot rear yard setback requirement that we are compliant with. We're also compliant with the side yard setbacks. We're actually improving the condition there by moving the foundation wall slightly in. We're compliant building height, building coverage, and lot coverage, and the accessory structure is in compliance with the accessory structure setbacks and height requirements. As our architect mentioned, it does have a 10-foot rear yard setback, which is greater than the 0-foot that's permitted. Getting into the uses, so we have a detached two-family home. That is a permitted principal use in the district. And we also have the accessory dwelling unit, the ADU, and that is a permitted accessory use in the district. And between that definition of accessory dwelling unit in the actual accessory use section of the RH1 district, as well as the definition in the zoning ordinance, I do think that we meet those requirements. So as I mentioned, the RH1 district does have your standard bulk requirements. It also does have design standards. And based on my review and the review of the city's historic preservation officer's report, I do believe that we are meeting those design standards with the proposed project as well.
Okay, and did you have an opportunity to review Mr. Ward's review report?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, did you have an opportunity to review the issue as to whether a minor site plan or any site plan was required as part of this project?
Yeah, so I did review that. Minor site plans are exempt under the municipal land use law.
Well, back up, what, for minor site plans are exempt? Or you mean 1 and 2 families?
Yeah, for, yes, 1 and 2 family homes are exempt from minor site plan approval. And based on my review of just the standard LDO, beyond that exemption, I don't think we meet the threshold for gross floor area. And I believe the accessory dwelling unit is also exempt from site plan approval based on the LDO's requirements, the land development ordinance requirements.
So in your professional opinion, as a professional planner, an expert opinion, it's your opinion that no variances are required
That's correct.
and that no design waivers are required,
That's correct.
and that the accessory dwelling unit is a permitted use under the land development ordinance?
Yes, a permitted accessory use, accessory to the permitted two-family detached structure.
And that any site plan approval is not required as part of this application.
That's correct. No site plan approval would be required.
So in short, you agree and concur with the decision that was made by the zoning officer in this matter?
That's correct.
I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you. And before we start with public comment, would you like a break?
No, Cynthia has to
Oh, Cynthia has a comment. I'm sorry, Cynthia.
cross examine.
I have a couple of questions, and I wanted to briefly bring our expert back for rebuttal testimony. I'm sorry, could you?
Mr. Bellamy, Samuel Bellamy.
Oh, Mr. Bellamy, right.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Bellamy, do you usually review plans for compliance with design standards?
I frequently, as part of my profession as a licensed professional planner, review applications, and that includes a review of both zoning standards and design standards when they are applicable in a zone.
Okay, and if the design standards are not met, do you believe the zoning officer has the power to waive them?
When design standards aren't met for an application, they typically require a design waiver, which would have to be approved by a zoning or planning board.
So it would have to go back to a land use board then?
If a design standard is not met, and that's determined by the zoning officer, then yes, it would have to go back typically.
Okay, and the accessory dwelling unit, do you have any idea if it's going to be a guest house or what it will be?
No, and I don't think that's under the purview of zoning or the zoning board. It's typically related to the use itself. In my opinion, what's being proposed is an accessory dwelling unit, and whether it's rental for sale or anything beyond that, it really is not the purview of this board or a zoning officer's determination.
Okay, and without knowing what the eventual ownership will be, can you really determine that it is an accessory use to the principal structure?
Yeah, I think based on the
Or
definition.
to the principal use, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think based on the definitions of accessory dwelling unit, I think it's clear just by the overall scale of what's being proposed that it's subordinate to the principal structure. It's much smaller. It's one dwelling unit, which is what's permitted by an accessory dwelling, and it meets the bulk standards for accessory dwelling units.
So you're saying any backyard ADU is always an accessory use, even if it's sold to a different owner?
Again, I really don't think that's the question of zoning.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all I have, and we're going to bring back Ms. Poe Duvallon.
Just one follow-up question for Mr. Bellamy to try to clear things up. When you're involved in a lot of applications before the boards, correct?
Yeah, that's
and you would have a residential project before a board. Does it matter, or is it relevant to the board if that's going to be a rental property or a condominium property?
No, it's not. It's not under the board's purview when approving applications or denying applications.
Thank you.
Okay, I do have, I'm sorry, one more question. Later, if it, at some future point, it becomes, say, a separate condo unit, would that be a zoning violation?
I don't believe so. A change in use would have to be reviewed if it's a change in use, and then at that point it would be determined if a use variance is required. But a change of rental and ownership, I don't believe that has to go back or it's considered a change of use from a zoning perspective.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we just can.
Okay.
Hello again, Jackie Poo Duvalin again for the record.
Okay, so you heard,
Yes.
thanks. So you heard Mr. Lewis and Mr. Bellamy. You heard their testimony. Do you have anything to say in response to that?
Yes, I do have a few comments just in response to some of the comments of the advising architect. I know it's late. I know you have public testimony to move on to, so I just want to make a few points, which is that he did note that they plan to restore the front facade, at least to some degree, to the 1930s tax photo conditions. I really don't see that in his elevation drawings. He said everything significant had been stripped from the front of the house or otherwise altered. There are still wood cornices that are still there, that are visible, that can still be restored and repainted, reused. As I said earlier, the asphalt shingle siding, it's probably covering the original wood clapboard. That would be easy enough to take that off, look at the condition of the wood, see if you could retain the original wood and just repaint it. I question the use of hardy plank. That would not, to my knowledge, be able to replicate the original size and overlap of the original clapboard siding. I question the use of Fibrex windows in a historic district or potential historic district. Fibrex is basically plastic. At the rear, he mentioned the addition that's there doesn't have any historical or architectural merit. I agree with that, but it is. You can see the difference. It is of a scale that is more appropriate to the existing building. You can still read the existing building. It doesn't overwhelm the existing building. Not that I'm saying you have to keep the existing rear addition in its current form, but you can see the difference in that massing. And I'm still left with the question. I understand that the city doesn't require, apparently, shoring plans to be filed at the same time as demo plans, but I'm still left with the question of how are these two remaining walls going to be held up under the course of construction when you're replacing everything else in the building. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Does Chuck have
Did you want to ask a question?
No, I don't have
Okay.
any questions for her.
nothing? Okay.
I'm good.
I think
you're
we
done?
want
I
to
think
give
you're-
Iris a break.
Yeah, and then we'll go to public comment.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll take a 10-minute break, Iris. Is that enough? Okay, so we'll be back here at 8:45 for public comment. We'll have public comment. A reminder that each person speaking will be given 3 minutes. Commissioner Shahid will be timing you, and when there's a minute left, he will give you notice that there is 1 minute left. So anyone who would like to speak, please come up to the podium so that you can line up if you'd like and get ready to speak. Okay, thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you will provide this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your full name, please, spell your last,
Sasha Greco, Greco,
and your address, please.
125 Sherman Place.
Thank you.
Sure. I'm a little nervous, so I'm going to read off my notes. I don't know if you guys will care about an emotional appeal, but I hope as representatives of the residents of Jersey City, you'll give me a little bit of latitude here.
Is the mic on so that everyone can hear you?
It was on.
There you go.
Sorry,
Okay.
again, very nervous here.
Okay.
I bought my house on Sherman Place in 2008, not on the grand block that Paul lives on closer to Kennedy Boulevard, but still special to me. It was in a state of disrepair at the time, but what I saw was inlaid floors, stained glass windows, moldings, and incredible historic beauty. My husband and I have spent 17 years restoring our property, and it's a gem and a haven, and we love it. The house next door to us, 127, had similar features, but it was bought off-market by a developer a few years ago when the original owners died. And I watched brokenhearted as I saw stained glass windows, inlaid floors, crown moldings, a beautiful staircase and banister carted out and thrown into a dumpster. Our house has a tiny room at the back, barely bigger than this table, that has windows on two sides. And for many years, it was my favorite room because of the windows, like Paul's deck. I could see trees, I could see the sky, I could see the sunsets. I would sit out there with a glass of wine and a book and enjoy that view. And when the developers refurbished 127, they extended it almost all the way to the back of the property as well. And so now my my windows look at vinyl siding because they didn't put any windows in and it goes right up against my property. So I really feel for Paul when he talks about losing his light because I lost mine. And personally, I'm really tired of developers who don't care about our community or our residents or our neighborhood because all they care about are profits. This is a terrible precedence, and it's not what Sherman Place is about. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was beautiful.
Hi, everyone.
And do you swear that the testimony you provide this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Full name, please, spell your last.
Sure. Catherine Healy, Healy.
And your address, please.
125 Charles Street, Jersey City, New Jersey. Thanks. Good evening, everybody. So I got involved in this. I'm a lifelong resident of Ward D. I lived there for 44 years. Here not as an attorney today. I know nothing about land use. I am here to object to this project. I'm asking that you guys please rescind that approval and revoke the permit that was issued. Tanya's conflicted out. She's the director of 2 different departments. To me, that's clearly a conflict. You can't make the same decision from 2 separate departments. Also, the fact that a Mr. Patel already got turned down for the same project, but then the new developer gets approval 2 weeks later, it just stinks. It stinks of corruption, frankly. Also, I had no knowledge of this. I'm running for Ward D Council in the Heights on Governor McGreevy's ticket. And we want to do preservation citywide because I've had it with the developers knocking down our gorgeous Victorian homes and putting up these ugly Bayonne boxes. Enough is enough. So, and McGreevy agrees with this. So he said we're going to do preservation citywide. So I walked over to Paul's house, Paul Amatuzzo, because I know he's an expert in historic preservation. So I went to Paul to get some advice on how are we going to push through legislation in Jersey City for historic preservation. And that's when Paul unloaded on me about his neighbor's home. Why would you purchase a home next to Paul Amatuzzo and try to destroy it? Like, cut your losses, step away. You know, once I'm elected, we're going to be passing draconian ordinances so that we are going to shut down development citywide. Okay, everyone here, you can tell these developers that they are done because we've had it. We've had it. Our streets are filthy. There's no quality of life for the residents. Our fees go up and our quality of life goes down. You said I have 30 seconds. What did you say?
Yes.
Okay. So you have to rescind this. If this is not rescinded, I assure you we will be passing draconian ordinances on zoning, historic preservation. We're going to do it citywide. We're going to go crazy. And now no one will be able to develop. I mean that. I've had it. Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Full name, please, spell your last.
Alexandra Ibaraken, Iberraken.
And your address, please.
81 Sherman Place. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ali and live in 81 Sherman Place, so just the other side with Paul's other next door neighbour. A year and a half ago, we bought our home and fell in love with the historic charm of the block. But truly what sold us the house was this beautiful outdoor space. We have this lovely yard and this gorgeous leafy vista through all of our neighbours' gardens towards the end of the block. And it's a real green oasis within the city. We have 2 young children who are 4 and 6, and they spend hours out there playing in the yard, enjoying the trees, the fresh air, and the natural light. So for us, we absolutely oppose the idea of having this large extension and this extra ADU, which will just wall us in. Additionally, I'm concerned about the construction. I worry about the months of dust and noise right next to where our children will be playing and breathing. I think something really important to note is the number of people that have come out this evening to show how special and unique Sherman Place is and how much we value the history and the nature that we are so lucky to enjoy right now. Thank you very much.
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last,
Ivan Garcia, Garcia,
and your address, please.
89 Sherman Place.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thanks for allowing me to come up here and speak. I live on 89 Sherman Place, a couple houses down from what these guys want to do. Went ahead and purchased a house back in 2012. We moved into Jersey City back in 2010. Between 2010 and 2012, we would always walk down Sherman Place. And I used to tell my wife at the time, you know, one day if we're lucky enough, we'll get a house here. And we were lucky enough to get a house here. It's guys, if you ever walk down the block, it really is. It's an amazing block. The trees, the backyards, they're gorgeous. This gentleman over here, they asked him what's special about the house. He said nothing. I mean, it's not a Bayonne box. It's not like any other. If you go down the street, it's not like other houses that you see there. It's definitely different. I don't know what you're talking about. But enough about, you know, today you're having a lot of people talk about how great this block is. They live on the block. Obviously, they're going to speak highly of it. I want to talk about what this block means to the community. Every night, we go out on the porch, we sit down, we talk to our neighbors, and the amount of foot traffic you get on this block from people that don't live on this block is not a main thoroughway. There's no reason people should be walking down this block. People love walking down this block, looking at the houses, pointing at the flowers, pointing at the various plants, pointing at the trees. We're going to destroy this. Please, guys, on your watch, don't allow this to happen. Don't allow this block to change. We talk about some of the great blocks on Jersey City. Sherman Place is one of them. Let's please make sure that we hold on to some of this. I appreciate it. I'm for development. I'm not anti-development. That's not what I am. But you do need to hold on to some culture when it comes to a city. And Sherman Place is part of that culture. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Swear that the testimony you provide this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your
Cynthia Scott, SCOTT,
and your address, please.
63 Sherman Place. I'm going to read my notes, too. Good evening. I have lived in Jersey City my entire life, and most of it has been on Sherman Place.
Excuse me, pull the mic to your mouth and.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Should I start over again?
Sure.
Okay. I have lived in Jersey City my entire life, and most of it has been on Sherman Place. I am grateful for the opportunity to speak before you tonight. However, I am only able to do so because of this appeal. It is difficult to understand how this happened considering the scope of this project. 85 Sherman Place is located in a proposed historic district. Neighbors have been working to complete the steps needed for the process, and the city's Historic Preservation Office and Planning Department have been part of that process. We have been working on this for over 6 years. The proposed historic district is also included in the city's master plan. The survey has been done, and the designation report was filed about 9 months ago. It seems that the project at 85 Sherman Place should have been looked at more closely. Considering the scope, the public, neighbors, and those of us who live here should have been given an opportunity to be heard and considered. The project allows for partial demolition of an historically contributing home in order to gain access to construct an ADU in the backyard. Initially, ADUs were described by planning on a walk that I was on as converting existing structures such as garages or carriage houses. How is it all permitted for a new structure, which needs partial demolition, without public notice or input? Public trust still matters, and we need to trust that government is considering what is best for the community. The proposed historic district was not fully considered here, and no public discussion was scheduled. You have an opportunity to reevaluate and to make sure that more consideration and discussion takes place going forward. We live here, and the decisions affect our lives and our investment in our community. Thank you for your attention to this appeal.
Thank you.
Do you swear that the testimony you will provide this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
God, please state your full name, spell your last,
Ball, B-A-L-L.
Okay, and your first name is J-A-Y?
Correct,
It's J.
correct,
No,
yes.
which is J.
Yes.
Your address, please.
108 Sherman Place. My wife and I discovered this magical showpiece street when we were looking for a house in Jersey City, riding our bikes all over the place. And this reminded me of where I grew up. Beautiful old big homes, giant yards, tons of trees. And when we bought it in the middle of winter, we just sat in our backyard because Hoboken doesn't have yards. I have a yard now. And in this yard, I have squirrels, possums, raccoons, skunks, and woodchucks. It's pretty cool. There's blue jays, sparrows, hummingbirds, and this giant red-tailed hawk that sits in the tree above my house, happily munching on the pigeons from my yard. This menagerie of wildlife would not exist if it were not for the continuous yards of the street. This openness allows variety and ranging for all of the animals. We get morning sunlight. It wakes up the critters and keeps our yards alive. If my neighbor were to build an ADU, I'd lose all of this. They double their length of their house, I would lose all of this, resulting in a dank and dusty and depressing wasteland that would be, well, my yard. I'm not against development. I'm not against creating additional housing on Sherman Place, but I am against the ADU and the way that they are extending this house too big. I also own 21 Sherman Place, so I am for housing. I would like, maybe in the future, to use my garage. We need less cars. An accessible house would be great back there for a handicapped person. I'd like an ADU, maybe in the future, but not ripping up the yards that exist and blocking off the sunlight of my neighbors. I would use what's there. So guys, give us a nice plan for a 2 to 3 unit building with a really hip garden level bachelor pad. That would be pretty cool. Can you do this? And I think our neighbors might support this, but what is there now definitely is not appropriate for the neighborhood and is not something that I want to see and live near. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you swear that the testimony you provide this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I
So
do.
help you God. Please state your full name
My name is Elvin Dominici Encarnacion.
and spell your last name.
It's Dominici. My second last name is Encarnacion.
And your address, please.
It's 1 Congress Street.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Elvin, and I'm an activist in Jersey City. I started here with the community to make sure that we protect 85 Sherman Place. For many years, Jersey City has lost many properties, many areas that are valuable for this community. And we got one of the left historic district. And we, as a community, and some people that care about this city, we need to step together. I understand, the developer and the lawyer, they just keep talking about this is not a historic district yet. Disregarding the work and the effort of this community for years to make sure that this happened, as the lady that was speaking before, just because they want to build this property. So imagine what is going to happen to this block if we allow this building to be as it is. You're going to open the door for a new way for other developers to come into the block to build this type of property, and we cannot allow that. We got to make sure that we protect this, at least this district in Jersey City, and we show that when they don't come and have conversations with the community first before they start proposing these projects, we always going to have this type of meetings. I'm against it, and you should be against it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do.
State your full name, please. Spell your last name.
It's Kern, K-E-R-N. Last name is Weissman, W-E-I-S-S-M-A-N. 576 Palisade Avenue. Great. Good evening. Thank you, Commissioners. So I'll be brief. I'm speaking on behalf of the Riverview Neighbors Association Development Committee, which, as you know, is the neighbor association to the east of the Pershing Field Neighbor Association. We are lending our support 100% to the Sherman Place community. The biggest thing that we've identified here in our review of this situation is that the precedent that could be set here is definitely not a good one. The idea that you can basically demolish portions of a historic property in order to plant an ADU without proper HPC review is really not good. And I think it's actually even more dangerous than it sounds, because I know of, and I polled our community, three different, when I went to my neighbors, 3 different lots. I went down and I saw that if this was, in fact, this precedent was able to be set, a similar thing could happen on their lots. And there's actually one that on the same block where it very likely could. This mid-block idea that, okay, well, we how else are we going to get back there? We got to demolish part of the historic building. So I'm not against the concept of an ADU, but I certainly am against the concept of allowing demolition of any portions of historic properties without proper review. That is a terrible precedent, and you have the power here to block that and stop that. So please do, grant this appeal and let this go through the proper review process and protect this neighborhood. It's very important. Thank you.
Do you swear that the testimony you will provide this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your full name, please, spell your last.
My name is Colin Egan, E-G-A-N, at 35 Sherman Place. I have some working knowledge of preservation, but I can't claim any working knowledge of zoning. What I do claim is that I'm one of the millions and millions of people in Jersey City, now and in decades past, who've always known there's something very special about Sherman Place. And the reason we know it's special is that it has maintained its historic sense of place and feeling. You go there, you know not only that generations before you have enjoyed it, you have the feeling that generations ahead of you will. It has a comfortable feeling. And the reason all of this is there is the relationship of the buildings to the open space, and the buildings to each other, and the various open space to each other. That is critical to the district. Now, we've heard that, unfortunately, the historic district is pending, and the builder's lawyer has pointed out it is not in force, but we do have RH1. And RH1, and that's what Sherman Place is. And in RH1, it has a specific requirement that, I'm lousy at reading things at the podium, I'm sorry, buildings be sited so that their placement and relationship to surrounding property is equivalent to the existing pattern of development on the street. That means the existing relationship of buildings, the open space, front, back, side, is very important. And I submit that it is at least an open question that the plans being submitted now don't require a variance to conform to those standards. So what I would suggest and ask is that the current permits be retracted and this be sent back to Planning and Zoning, and that Planning and Zoning ask HPC to weigh in. Because HPC has the expertise. As was pointed out, this body doesn't. You don't have to. That's what HPC is for. HPC should look into that issue, and also, as Kern Weisman said, the issue of demolition. That's what has to happen. Go back to the HPC and allow a public hearing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I do. Jeanette Pilat, Jeannette, Pilat, Pilat. 106 Sherman Place. So I'm French, actually, and American.
Please speak into the mic.
Hello. I just wanted to share my perspective as a neighbor and also someone coming from a different country. I used to live in Paris for more than 15 years, and I was hesitating about going back or staying here. And actually what convinced me to stay in Jersey City was Sherman Place, and all this the dynamic and the positive energy that we have from the fact that it's going to be a historic district. And I could feel that whatever we have in France and Paris that we had about preservation, restoration, not renovation, but really restoration, all the little details that we can have in each houses is starting to be valued, and it's not neglected in a way. I have two little kids, 5 and 7, or 4 and 6, depending on whether you ask me or my husband. And I often walk on the streets with them, and they actually recognize the houses from the little details. I don't know if it's because we actually put the emphasis on that, or if it's just because they're interested, but they can tell you which house is the purple one with the little detail, the yellow one that is bigger with the front porch with those pillars, all of those little things that I wouldn't even think about. And it's not lost on them when someone has a longer backyard and someone has a smaller one, because they detail those things too, and they have friends, so they often go and play in those backyards and actually talk about how cool it is, and why don't we put some hens or maybe cows or goats in there, because they just see how incredible this is and how unique it is. We used to live in Manhattan in a very tiny one-bedroom apartment, the 4 of us. So actually the fact that we have those backyards, that's what the whole appeal. It's not just the front, it's like the whole house that makes sense, and it not makes sense only to adults, but also to kids. So thank you. I don't think I have a lot of more to say than the fact that they also recognize the patterns. So they actually do talk about, oh, this is the yellow, they do at school, the iterations of find the error. They are able to do that on the streets too. So just to say that if we want to have that for the kids, and this is what I want for Jersey City, and this is why I actually wanted to stay for the energy, not just talking about downtown, because honestly, coming from Manhattan, I didn't know whether to go to Hoboken, Jersey City downtown, and that was pretty much it. Now I see that there is the Heights, and the value of Jersey City overall is growing through the fact that there is this historical potential district in a way. So seeing that development, I'm just afraid that it will threaten the whole preservation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I do.
State your full name, please.
My name is Laura Ford, F-O-O-R-D. 2 O's.
And your address?
And I live at 101 Sherman Place, right down the street from where all this is supposed to take place. A lot of what I was going to say has already been said, and much better than I could say it by my neighbors and other people in this community. This is really important to all of us. When I first moved to Sherman Place in 1988, I think it was, a lot of the houses were kind of run down, and they needed work, and they really were not pretty, including my own, were nowhere near as pretty as what you see today. And over the years from that time to now, an enormous amount of effort and love and care and community spirit has gone into turning Sherman Place into what it is now. We are invested in our community. We partnered with the city to get closer to becoming Jersey City's 6th historic district. We obtained the necessary data from the experts in historic architecture to confirm that historic designation is warranted and should happen here. The city has accepted and supported historic designation. We've been partners with the city up till now. The new master plan of Jersey City cites the RH1 and RH2 zoning as intended to protect property as historic designated zones. So it's been the city's stated objective to protect these neighborhoods. We share a common goal. Another common goal, increasing density in a manner that's responsible and respects the character of historic areas is also a goal shared by the city and also our residents in our neighborhood. I would love to be able to have an accessory unit in my backyard that a relative or a friend in need could come and live in. We have the option now to have an accessory dwelling unit, which we were made to understand would be something that would be built onto an existing.
1 minute to go.
Oh, wow, okay. All right, I'll have to go up. The city has zoning and planning ordinances that are to be followed in determining whether a developer's plan should be allowed. The Historic Commission has an important role in the process. I think Ms. Hajianis has outlined tonight that the application for 85 Sherman Place did not proceed properly through the process as it should have. As a result, we have a developer waiting to partially demolish a house that is listed as a contributing historic building. The section of the house that the developer wants to demolish is actually listed on the official survey as a main characteristic of the house that makes it valuable historically. Our neighbors have several valid concerns about this plan, including the lack of emergency access in the event of fire and whether the house would retain structural soundness after the removal of a significant portion of its
Time's
original
over.
wall. Excuse me?
Your time is
Your
finished.
time is up.
I'm
Do you have
done?
a Last sentence.
It went so fast. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
The testimony that you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please state your full name
Anthony Sandcamp,
and your address, please.
91 Bright Street.
Thank you.
I'm a neighbor from the Van Voorst Park neighborhood. I've been living in that historic district for 24 years. I've also been a commissioner on the Jersey City Historic Preservation Commission for 22 years, so I'm used to being on that side of the dais, not this side. However, I'm here to voice my strong opposition to the approval and the process that was conducted for the application at 85 Sherman Place. I'm someone dedicated to justice in all parts of my life, and today that dedication is focused on Jersey City's zoning office. The New Jersey Appellate Court had previously ruled that municipalities cannot delegate the powers of the HPC to other entities. The court stated, instead, the MLUL mandates that a commission made up of 5, 7, or 9 people review demolition permit applications involving property for historic significance and render written recommendations to the administrative officer or planning board. Plaintiff is permitted to file a request for demolition permit to be considered by the commission and, if necessary, exhaust his administrative remedies. The building in this application is listed as a contributing structure in the Hunter Research Survey as a requisite to determination as a municipal historic district. This distinctive historic neighborhood, in my opinion, will become the next historic district in Jersey City, as early as late this year. The Jersey City HPC routinely renders opinion on demolition for Jersey City properties every month, both inside and outside of historic districts, as part of our meetings. Having a determination by the HPC does not constitute a hardship
1 minute.
for a building owner. The building demolition application never came before the HPC. As such, the current approval needs to be rescinded. The application should then be heard by the Jersey City HPC for determination. All property owners should be afforded equal justice by our city. Owners with power and connections need to be subject to the same review as those without. This board and all city boards are critical to providing that equal justice. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi. Will you both be speaking?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll swear you in together. Do you swear that the testimony you will provide this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, we do.
Please state your name first, sir.
Victor Quinones.
Your last name?
Quinones.
N-O-E-S, and your name?
Mary Quinones.
Okay, and your address, please?
105 Sherman Place.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Yeah, my concern is about that construction they're trying to do. Is about fire issue because we had building downtown. We was locked out. And my house in the back got burned, and that's one of the issues that I want not to permit the permit for that kind of building in there. So I'm supporting Mr. Paul.
I guess what he's trying to say is our issue is that we own a building in downtown, and we were landlocked, and we have a little 2-story, 1-family house in the back, and it burned down because the firemen could not find where to go, because we have the building in the front, and we have a little hallway to get to the back, and our house burns because they couldn't find it. So it's just a fire issue with us. Like, how safe is it? If there's a fire and you're landlocked back there, how do you know where to go? Like, it's minutes. Someone can get hurt, die. So
How big is it? 36 inches wide to get in there?
our door was 30 inches wide, and there was a door. So they couldn't find the house, and they found it too late. So 3 homes burnt because of that. So we just wanted to let you know that it's also a fire, safety issue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Swear that the testimony you provide this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
State your full name, please.
Deborah, Deborah, McWilliams, capital M, small c, capital W, ILLIAMS.
And your address?
787 Summit Avenue, Unit 1. I hadn't planned to speak tonight, but after listening to everything, I have something to say. I've been in Jersey City for 35 years, originally from Brooklyn. I've been in the Heights for 25. I'm a walker. I use public transportation. I've been to different parts of Jersey City, and one of the things that I like is the different architecture, the variety of housing, from the beautiful brownstones in Greenville to just even my building, which is a pre-war building, or just walking down Sherman Place. Sherman Place is like going into another world. The Victorian houses, the trees, just to hear the sounds of the birds. It's like being in the country where my mother grew up down south. Even on Manhattan Avenue, if you walk up Summit, all the beautiful, large Victorian houses. But we're losing it. We're losing it because developers are not working with the people and with the community. They're working against us. We're losing that variety, and all they're building is these Bayonne boxes that are ugly, or these glass skyscrapers. I grew up in Brooklyn. I worked in Manhattan. This is what I saw. We're not against development. We want appropriate development. We want the developers to work with us to keep it. I don't want to live somewhere that's like Manhattan. That's why I left New York. I want the variety, especially as someone who's retired and walks around a lot. I want the variety. Whether I walk down Troy Street and see the different houses there, or Sherman Place, or Franklin, but we're losing it because the board, the zoning board, the planning board, you're approving whatever the developers want without input from the community. Don't work
1
against
minute.
us. Work with us. That's all we're asking. Because do you want Jersey City to look like Manhattan? Have y'all been on Cottage Street lately? Have y'all walked at Journal Square? Go take a walk down Cottage Street between Summit and Central and Kennedy. You'd be shocked. Little houses, all these big glass buildings. It's just ugly. Please work with us. We ask the developers, work with us. Please work with us. We want you guys here, but it has to be appropriate. Thank you for your time. And I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I had to.
Thank you.
Swear that the testimony you provide this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
State your full name, please.
Deborah DeVenezia, D-E, capital V like Victor, E-N-E-Z-I-A.
And your address, please.
72 Bleecker Street. She stole my opening line. I wasn't going to speak either tonight. We're both named Debbie, so maybe that has something to do with it. I felt compelled to speak because I wanted the zoning board here to know how important this is for the whole city. I don't live on Sherman Place. I don't live anywhere near Sherman Place. But I felt compelled to speak because it will impact my life and where I live, and what happens here tonight on this decision will affect the rest of the city. And I know that in my heart. I live on Bleecker Street. I have lost every historic home on our block as I've lived there. I am the last historic home on that block. Last year, 2 years ago, we restored our home, and people now walk our block to see our house. It is of no great scale like the ones on Sherman Place, but it is the last home on our block. And I don't want to see that happen to any other neighborhood anywhere in the city. Thoughtful development is possible. My father was a developer. I loved that man, so I'm not against development. But it's thoughtful, and as Debbie said, working with the community, not against it. And I just felt compelled to speak because I wanted you to know it's not just the people living on Sherman Place trying to protect their little world. It's for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the community that need to say anything before I close out the public portion? Okay. Okay. So we are now closing the public portion. Do our commissioners have any comments, or we'll hear any comments, and then we'll hear from the staff? Okay. So do you have any comments? Okay. Let's hear from the staff. Michael?
I'm sitting over here today.
Yes, I know, but I had asked Michael was going to speak as well.
Oh, okay.
I just have a comment. I mean, is he a witness or is he making a staff comment?
From a staff comment.
Yeah, but it's a review of a decision he was involved in. I mean, this is what I'm talking about with a conflict of interest. Is where if he's being put on as a witness by the city, then I should have the opportunity to question him.
Okay, then.
Didn't he write a report in this case?
It's part of what's being challenged.
I thought you were challenging Tanya's zoning officers.
We were also challenging the compliance with the demolition regulations, and Michael was part of giving a prior approval. And he wrote,
Appealing?
That's part of the appeal, yeah.
Okay, so then we have to, oh, he's not part of the decision.
Then,
Okay.
Matt?
Okay. Matt,
Maybe we
do you have
should just hear from
comments?
you then.
Okay. I'm Matt Ward. For everyone that hasn't met me before, recognize many faces. I am a supervising planner here in Jersey City in the Division of City Planning. I have not consulted with Tanya Marione as the Director of City Planning on the writing of this report or the testimony I'm about to give. I have authored a report dated September 8th, 2025 to the Zoning Board Commissioners. In that report, I have a overview, a timeline, and I address the statement of the appellant in their statement of law. I'll start by quoting that statement. Zoning approval was issued without requiring any variance or waiver from the RH1 standards, without requiring compliance with newly amended demolition permit procedures or review by the Historic Preservation Commission, and without any minor site plan approval from the Land Use Board. Moreover, the accessory dwelling unit, ADU, is new construction, whereas the permitted use is limited to the conversion of existing accessory structure into accessory dwellings. The appellant's statement alleges that the ZRA approval is invalid because the zoning officer did not require any variance or waiver from the RH1 district standards. The zoning officer determined that their development does not include any variance or waivers, but city planning staff review, however, has confirmed a prohibited material, namely the brick face, is used on the sides and rear facades of the principal structure and on the accessory structure. Beyond that, city planning identified no other variance or waivers from the RH1 standards. Because of that, the brick face and the uses thereof would require a variance relief pursuant to NJSA 40:55D-70C. Pursuant to Chapter 34540 of the LDO, the purpose of the RH1 district is to preserve the pattern, quality, and architectural individuality of the existing detached one and two unit structures, and is to discourage subdivision and demolition. This district is similar to the RH2 and R1 zones, except that it is intended to protect clusters of lot sizes that are larger than the standard 25 by 100 lot size for Jersey City. The purpose is not to create historic districts. It's not for historic districts. There are areas of R1, formerly the R1A and R1F districts prior to the creation of the RH1 zone. And Sherman Place wasn't it, because the original R1A and R1F were 40 by 100 lots. There are 40 by 100 lot clusters that were zoned that way, and now all of them are now in this new RH1. The RH1 district in its entirety throughout the entire city, in some cases that includes areas like this that are eligible for historic designation, and in some cases are not eligible, and upon my opinion, would not be eligible, clusters being as small as they are in some areas. All right. Okay. The importance of kind of explaining some of that background was the 40 by 100 lot was the rear yard standard that was written into the RH1 zone specified two rear yard standards. One is this 40% of rear lot depth, or of lot depth being your rear yard setback. That was created specifically for the inclusion of lots that are greater than 100 feet deep, namely Sherman Place. The rear yard standard in this application that was approved by, or not this application, but that was approved by the zoning officer, the subject of this appeal, meets that setback. I think there's no question here. This is not a historic district yet. That was not contended by the appellant. This development, just to summarize what it includes, it's an existing detached two-unit structure that they're creating. That's formerly a one-unit structure that is a permitted principal use. A partial demolition of a building that is not a local landmark nor part of a locally designated historic district. An addition and site work compliant with the R1H bulk standards. Currently, the principal structure is a non-conforming pre-existing structure. This application that was approved by the zoning officer brings the project into compliance with the standards of the zone with regards to the side yard setback, and it is observing the other standards that are in the zoning. An ADU compliant with the R1H permitted accessory uses standards, continuation of a pre-existing non-conforming parking arrangement in the front yard, and exterior work deemed largely compliant with RH1 design standards and recommended for approval by the Historic Preservation Officer contingent on changing the brick face to full brick. This project is compliant with the demolition standards. and the permit procedures therein. The approval of the development is compliant with Chapter 345-30 and Chapter 105 of the Municipal Code. The development does not propose whole demolition, instead proposing partial demolition. Chapter 105 of the Municipal Code stipulates permit procedures for demolitions. For whole demolitions, the city has put in a permit procedure as a standalone application that incorporates Historic Preservation, Division of Zoning, and the Construction Code Official's Office, since the full scope of a demolition may not include plans for development. For partial demolition, the scope of a project always includes a zoning review application, or a ZRA, and therefore the recommendation of or prior approval, that being a term referenced in the permit procedures, the recommendation of a prior approval of the Historic Preservation Officer is made part of the permit procedure of a zoning review application. Furthermore, pursuant to Chapter 105.3, applications approved by the zoning officer on recommendation of the Historic Preservation Officer may thereafter be submitted to the construction official as a prior approval. Referring to the timeline in my report, on June 25th, 2025, the Historic Preservation Officer recommended approval of the ZRA ahead of any permits being issued by the Construction Code Official's Office or the Building Department. In July 2025, the ZRA approved plans were revised, and the Historic Preservation Officer once again reviewed the plans to update their prior approval. In their August 1st update, the Historic Preservation Officer recommends the following be addressed prior to construction. 1, the currently proposed thin brick veneer should be revised to full-size 4-inch red brick along the entirety of the exposed foundation / basement and ADU. And 2, the existing below-grade foundation below-grade foundation that is below the proposed portion of the wall being removed should remain. Any space between the existing foundation, continuing on with his recommendation, any space between the existing foundation and new proposed foundation should be appropriately infilled. Recommendation 1 was not addressed in the ZRA approved plans. That's what I mentioned earlier when I said that there is a variance. But recommendation 2 was addressed and specified on sheet T-1 of the plans. To date, the building permits have not been updated with the 2025 revisions, but work is stopped at the site. This project complies with the design standards of the RH1 district, with the exception of that brick face. The development is compliant with those standards. It's confirmed in the prior approval authored by the Historic Preservation Officer. Compliance with the accessory use standards. The ZRA approved plans do not include any variances or waivers from the RH1 accessory use standards. Pursuant to Ordinance 23-103, approved in October 2023, accessory dwelling units are permitted use in the RH1 district. The governing body, pursuant to NJSA 40:55D/62, may adopt or amend a zoning ordinance substantially consistent with the land use element and the housing plan element of the master plan or designed to effectuate such plan elements. Prior to Ordinance 23-103, 85 Sherman Place was in the R1 district. The R1 and the RH1 district both permit accessory structures. At any time, a property owner in the RH1 district may apply for permits to build and erect an accessory structure. Assuming no variances or waivers are proposed, once that accessory structure is built, it exists. It doesn't matter if that structure was there for a minute, or a day, or decades, or was always built when that first building was built. It exists, and it was permitted. The appellant, in their statement, is correct The master plan recommends the city allow detached garages and carriage houses to be converted to accessory dwelling units to increase affordable housing options. But
Excuse me, can we lower the volume on that, please? Oh, sure. Thank you.
But to read that conclusion, or that recommendation, and conclude ADUs shall not be permitted in new construction is a romantic notion. To prohibit ADUs in new construction, when accessory structures are permitted would do nothing less than add administrative burden on city staff and application gymnastics for property owners seeking to diversify the housing stock in Jersey City.
Please.
The municipal council reserves the power to zone when they adopted 23-103. This case, Z2025-0056, is not an appeal of whether the municipal council misapplied a recommendation from the master plan 2 years ago. The appeal period for ordinance 23-103 is long past. That said, staff finds the definition of ADU and standards by which ADUs are permitted in Jersey City substantially consistent with the land use element and the housing plan element of the Jersey City master plan. Lastly, the proposed partial demolition and addition, creating a 3-foot 1-inch side yard setback, renders access to the rear yard and proposed ADU, while also removing a non-conforming side yard setback condition. The development does not have any bulk variances. The last item in their appeal and statement is that this should have received minor site plan approval. The appellant's statement alleges, I'll skip that. Pursuant to NJSA 40:55D-37A, Chapter 34516 of the Land Development Ordinance stipulates when site plan approval is required, defining threshold, it stipulates when site plan approval is required, defining thresholds for major site plan review and minor site plan review. Pursuant to 345-16B1, projects whose total gross floor area is at least 5,000 and less than 10,000 square feet require minor site plan approval. However, pursuant to NJSA 40:55D-37A, individual lot applications for detached two-unit buildings are exempt from site plan review and approval. The principal structure of the development of the subject for tonight is therefore exempt from site plan review by state law. The non-exempt gross floor area of the development only totals 1,394 square feet. That's the ADU, well below the 5,000 gross floor area threshold for minor site plan approval. No threshold for minor site plan review and approval is triggered by this development. However, due to the brick face, city planning has determined a variance is present and no site application, and that has made a variance no site plan application required for this application, which would appear before this board. If you have any questions, I'm here at your disposal.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions for anyone? Jeffrey?
Okay, so I only have one question. It was stated that excavating was being done. How was that being done, or what type of excavating is being done, and how is, I guess, is the question. I think, Chuck, I don't know.
That was months ago when I think the permit had been given. The appeal was in process. There was no stop work order in place. So my client went forward with that, and then it was contacted by the construction official to stop work at the property. So that was done prior to the stop work order.
So there was no removal of windows or anything. It was just excavation in the back, and they were pretty much bringing it out the side.
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I don't know that answer. So
Commissioner Saplicki, do you have a question?
Just so I understand, the height of the building is equivalent to the height of the neighboring buildings? It's not higher, elevated higher?
That's correct.
Okay, I just.
We're not raising the height of the building.
So it match-
The building is similar to the building.
Okay.
Other commissioners, do you have any other questions? Backing up to what Commissioner Allen said about the demolition, but the interior of the house, was that already gutted?
The answer to that is yes, and that was under the prior demolition. There was no stop work order, so I believe they were working under the appropriate permit.
Okay. Do you need to sum up, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's her application, so.
So who goes first? She goes
Cynthia.
first? Okay.
Yes, go right ahead.
So, thanks everyone for your attention this evening. So I think there have been a number of suggestions that make it sound as though we are asking you to ignore the law. That's not what we're asking. We're asking you to apply the protections we have rigorously and strictly. And we don't think the zoning officer did that. And that's why we appealed her decision. So it doesn't matter that this is not a district yet. And I think what the city is grappling with here is we have a new demo regulation that really protects, and you could see Chuck wasn't aware of it yet, protects buildings not in a district. Also protects, and this was in the prior iteration of the ordinance, from historic buildings from partial demolition. Now, I think if it's a complete demo, it's kind of a no-brainer. They'd send it to the HPC, and I think what you see the city grappling with here is like, how do we look at an application for a partial demo? And I think when you read the city documents, and those are all uploaded to the portal, it seems like they thought well, it's just one little part of a wall. And you heard from our expert, and it's a lot more than that. And once you remove two walls, you remove floor joists, I don't know what's holding everything up. I think it's hard to tell without really good engineering plans. And I think Mr. Ward suggested that someone else at some point in time might submit some. The building permits were already issued. No one is submitting any more plans. We have an architect's plans that say a little bit about demo, but don't have that much detail. Now, is it required? I think if the planning department had said we'd like to see more detail on the demo, we'd like to see some engineering plans, I'm sure they would have gotten them. So I just want to talk about the review that should have been required under the new demo regs. It's 345-30E.1. You have to undertake, once the demo application is submitted, which in this case was part of the zoning review application, it goes to the historic preservation officer to review for historic significance. And there are about 7 different criteria here. If you read anything Mr. Achema wrote, you'll see he didn't undertake that review. There was no review for historic significance. And I don't think he really needed to review for historic significance because the city already had the Hunter study, the 524-page report that it had commissioned in its office, but for whatever reason, no one mentioned it in any of their memos. I don't know if Mr. Achimov didn't know about it. I think he's kind of new. I'm not sure what happened, but wasn't mentioned anywhere. And had Mr. Achimov testified on behalf of the city, I would have asked him, why didn't you do this review that's required under our demo regs? Why didn't you reference the master plan? The historic preservation element of the master plan lists this as a historic resource, this particular property. No one mentioned the master plan. No one mentioned the historic preservation element of the master plan. Those are all parts of the review Mr. Achimov was supposed to do. So I would have asked him, why did you say the partial demo's not ideal? He didn't really go into an explanation. I mean, we agree with him, but it seems like even his recommendation wasn't that clear cut. He's sort of, and why wasn't it clear cut? The zoning approval for these plans was issued by the acting zoning officer on May 30th, 2025. Mr. Achimov was supposed to make a finding or recommendation as a prior approval for the demolition. He did that. He was asked to do that a few weeks later. He issued like a 1-paragraph little thing that I only found about on Friday because it was sort of in a hidden part of the portal. But he issued a decision, a month after Tanya had already okayed the plans. Now, she's the zoning officer, but she's also the director of city planning. She's his boss. So you wonder how much latitude did he feel he had in recommending denial of something his boss had already okayed? I think he was put in a very, very difficult position. I think his findings should have been requested prior to her issuing a zoning approval for a project that required a partial demo. And you heard from our expert, there was no engineering plan, there was no shoring plan. There's a lot of missing information on the plans that were submitted. Now, I was kind of surprised. Okay, so now we go to is this a decision that the historic preservation officer is empowered to make? And I'm not even really sure who thinks they did the prior approval, if it was the historic preservation officer or he only made findings and recommendations that were then adopted by the zoning officer. But if he had recommended denial, which we believe he should have, then our ordinance would have required this to go to the HPC, the Historic Preservation Commission. Now, design standards, we say it doesn't comply. I think we gave you quite a bit of evidence that this is not consistent with the pattern of development. This is not compatible with the size and scale of the neighborhood. And the zoning officer, I understand this is compliant with the bulk standards, but there are also these design standards that are trying to protect this RH1 neighborhood, which the purpose is to protect the historic and architectural character. So is this a decision that the zoning officer is empowered to make? Can she waive design standards? If the design standards aren't satisfied, and I think the applicant's planner agrees with us that it's got to go before a board. It's not something the zoning officer can just decide to waive on her own. She's obligated to enforce the zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance has design standards. If the project doesn't comply, then she's obligated to send it to a board. But that's not what happened here. What she did was she issued her initial zoning approval on May 30th and then asked the guy who works for her in her other capacity as the director of city planning to write a memo about the design standards. And he, it's no big shocker. He said they were satisfied. And I'm not sure he would have felt like he could say something different. The ADUs, I probably would have had Ms. Marion testified as a witness to defend the zoning approval. I probably would have asked her a lot of questions. How was the ADU? What was the recommendation in the master plan? Everybody agrees the master plan recommended conversion of existing accessory structures, not new construction. And there is a video online where Ms. Marion tries to help people understand what's the phase 2 implementation of the master plan. And had she testified, I might have shown you her video as a prior statement she made, because she explained the ADUs in that presentation she made online. And this is like a city presentation. She showed 2 homes with driveways with garages in the back. And she said, oh, you could build something on top of that little garage. Or you could take over the whole garage. And she was showing converting an existing structure. That was her explanation to the public of accessory dwelling units. And then she showed a block overview, like an aerial view of that same block. And she said, don't worry, or maybe it was a different block, but she said, don't worry, there won't be intrusions in the middle of the block because you can't get back there. So you don't have to worry about anyone putting a dwelling in the middle of the block behind their house. And that was her presentation. So I think that people seem confused. Is an accessory dwelling a permitted use or is it an accessory use? Those are 2 different things. When it's a permitted use, you're allowed to do it as a principal use. When it's an accessory dwelling unit is permitted as an accessory use. And the definition in our ordinance, section 345-6, defines what an accessory building structure or use is. And it says, a building structure or use which is customarily associated with and is subordinate and incidental to the principal building structure or use, and which is located on the same lot therewith. So just because you're putting a smaller house in the backyard of the house, that doesn't make it an accessory use under our definitions. I think what you may be creating, depending on what ends up happening with the ownership, you may be creating a second principal use on the same lot. And I think your board attorney is correct. We don't know yet what the use is going to be. Is this going to be an illegal second principal use, or is this going to be a bona fide accessory use? But I think without knowing, I'm not sure you can okay it. Just because if you're approving an accessory dwelling unit as an accessory use without really knowing how it's going to be used, how it's going to relate to the principal structure. And like I said, putting a smaller house in the backyard doesn't cut it. That's not an accessory use. So I think we may be setting ourselves up for a future problem where we've got illegal second principal uses, and I think that's happening already. People are selling these little things as condos, and I think this builder may be planning to do that. He's going to have a big enforcement problem at that point in time, the minute it goes up for sale. As a separately owned condo, if it's not a genuine accessory use. Now, same thing with the ordinance. Mr. Ward said, well, it's too late to challenge the ordinance. We already did it. And even though it's not really about conversions, it became a kind of a broader, we kind of think it's broader than that. I think that there's if you read the ordinance strictly, and you read all of the materials that document the legislative intent, it shows that the permitted accessory use is the conversion. It is not necessarily that the ADU is automatically the permitted use. And you can read the language yourselves and try to parse the language. You don't have to accept the zoning officer's idea of what they think they mean now at this point in time, even though it's different than what they thought they meant when they were explaining this to everybody during the master plan process. So I think you're free to use your own judgment on that one. Now, we have this Berardo case, which is also for a property that was on Sherman Place. The appellate division said it doesn't have to be in a historic district, for it to be subject to review by the Historic Preservation Commission. And my understanding is after that appellate case came down, it went back to the Historic Preservation Commission to consider a demo permit application, and that building's still there, so I'm fairly certain that the demo permit was denied. But the Berardo case is very instructive, and I'm sure your lawyer can give you great advice, but it does talk about how to distinguish who should be making different types of decisions. And our ordinance is kind of merges a lot of things together, but the Historic Preservation Officer has one type of role. The Historic Preservation Commission has a different kind of role. The Zoning Officer has a different role, and the Zoning Board has a different role. And I would submit to the board that here, the partial demo should have been denied. It should have gone before the HPC. It is complicated. I think you've heard enough from our expert about why. The zoning officer, can she waive the design regulations? Or the design standards in the RH1. They're even saying right now they figured out something needs a variance. So obviously they can't waive it, and they shouldn't have waived it. That has to go back to a board also for a waiver from the design standards. It might not be what these boards are used to doing, but it is what is in our ordinance. It is something that we have to enforce. And if the zoning officer does think, or if you think in reviewing her decisions that the design standards weren't met, again, the project has to go back to the board. So I want to thank you for your patience this evening and for listening to all of this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for indulging us today or tonight. So, I mean, obviously we have a different take on the review and the application before you. And, we appreciate all the comments of the public and everyone tonight with regard to the historic resources, along Sherman Place and the neighborhood. But it's about reviewing the existing zoning, what's before you. And I know I've said it a number of times, and it's clear. While this is eligible to be a historic district, it is not a historic district yet. So, it may get there, it may not. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. There's, they talk about, areas in Jersey City that should be a historic district, and, they move it along, and sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But as of today, as of the time of this application, it was not a historic district. So that being said, I think what with the review process here, I think was complete and comprehensive. I did pull the wrong demolition ordinance earlier, although I did try to find it before here. I thought that was the right one, but that doesn't change it. I've been involved in a lot of applications and review of structures that are outside historic districts. And you work with the Historic Preservation Officer, and they'll give you, their opinion. This criteria in that ordinance, it doesn't say that it needs to be written down anywhere. It just says that you have to review this and consider it. In Mr. Chimov's, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing Michael's last name correctly, but his report, he comes to the conclusion that the demolition of the side wall here, or side walls are not a defining character of the structure, and he comes to the conclusion then that it's okay. There's no requirement that he refer this to the Historic Preservation Commission. So that review was done internally. He is the Historic Preservation Officer. That he is the expert within that field. I mean, the implication that he's going to carry the water for Miss Marione and do what she says, I don't believe that, and I know from my dealings with the Historic Preservation Officers in the office that they don't carry water for anybody. Try to tell Dan Reardon what to do. Good luck. Anyway. What we have before you tonight, we believe it's a project that meets all the zoning standards. We've said that we were going to do the 4-inch brick. That was, the plans always showed a brick facade, is a veneered brick, which is like a 2-inch brick. So essentially, the zoning says you can't have the brick face or thin brick. So we're like, no problem, we'll do the full brick. So that was the only variance. We've said, that's fine, we're gonna correct that. We agreed to that prior to tonight. And everybody acknowledges then, as far as the zoning and the bulk standards, it's compliant, right? The issue is over the design standards then. You have the design standards, and in the report, you have Mr. Chimos' report, and then you have the planner's report from the city that supports that they reviewed that. It's their opinion and interpretation that the project complies with the design standards. They are the professionals that work for the city. Now, Mr. Amatuzzo and his professionals, they may disagree, but that's the interpretation that was done by the zoning officer and the historic preservation officer, based upon their review of the property. You can have different opinions, but their opinion is that complies. There's also, the issues that were raised with regard to the accessory dwelling unit. I've heard, Cynthia's argument. I just don't agree. I mean, I think it's the definition. Hold on, let me just get this. The definition in the ordinance for an accessory dwelling unit says a single unit dwelling in an accessory structure that is detached from the principal building or structure and is in addition to the principal permitted use, which is located on the same lot therewith. I think it's pretty clear that the whole intent here was to have the principal structure and principal use as the front building. And then they carved this out so that you can have the accessory dwelling unit in the back. It's not two principal uses. It's by design, an accessory dwelling unit is what they want you to put in the rear yard if appropriate, right? So again, I think that's absolutely permitted. The RH1 zoning specifically says it's permitted as an accessory use and accessory structure. Move over to the site plan requirement. There is none. Section 345.16 provides that accessory uses and structures do not require site plan approval. So there's been a lot of ADUs built. They're not going to be before this board, but they're already existing throughout the board. As Mr. Lewis testified, he's been involved in those already. So this isn't something new. And as Mr. Ward provided and what's in the LDO, 1 and 2 family structures are exempt from minor site plan. So that also is not a requirement here. So at the end of the day, what you have here is a compliant project that meets all the bulk standards. It meets the design standards. It may not be a popular project, with the neighbors, but you also saw the plan. There's a lot of historic renovation going here. The structure, the front porch is going to be restored. If you're looking from the street, it's going to be restored and look beautiful. The allegations that you're going to see, from the street in the back, I don't know if I buy that, quite honestly. I get Mr. Amatuzzo's concern about a structure being up there, but the zoning permits it. I'm before these boards all the time, and it's, if the zoning permits it, it's, kind of the private property rights, right? And I know that cuts both ways, but that's what we're here before you with an as-of-right project.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any other questions that you would like to ask at this time before we move to a vote? Okay, so, Counselor, so that we know what we're voting on, can you please?
So what we're here for is a review of the zoning officer and the zoning board's the zoning review application. So it's kind of a reverse of what we're going to decide now, right? In this regard. If we're going to make a motion to approve this appeal, then in effect what we're saying is we're voting to overturn the approval of the zoning review application. Okay?
Okay.
If the motion is to deny this appeal, then in effect you're voting to affirm what the zoning review application determined. Does that make sense? Right?
Yes.
Right? Good.
Okay.
Say it one more time? Okay, I can. The only reason I can is because I wrote it down. Yeah, cheat notes. So I'm saying if the motion is to approve this appeal, then in effect, you're voting to overturn the zoning officer, or in effect, you're overturning the approval of this zoning review application's determination. Saying it in the reverse, if the motion is to deny this appeal, then in effect, we're voting to affirm what's gone on here, what the zoning officer said, what the zoning review application determined, that's what you're voting on. So if you're voting to approve this, it's then you're denying what the
appeal.
determination was. If you're voting to deny the appeal, then you're voting to approve what the zoning officer and the zoning review application determined.
Wow.
Okay?
Okay.
Right.
So how do you want me to read this?
I just read it.
This is the
So you
first
don't have to
time we
read it
do
again. We'll
this.
be reading it
Okay,
a
so
third
how
time.
do we take the vote?
Well, somebody
Okay.
has to make a motion now.
Okay, now I'm asking for a motion.
Simply, a motion to
what?
approve the appeal or a motion to deny the appeal.
Okay, got it.
Whatever the board, whoever wants to make a motion,
I'll make it easy.
Go ahead.
make it easy.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve KZ 2025-0056 as presented to the board this evening.
Okay, so
That
that
was
means,
easy.
in
That
effect,
was a good one.
in effect, what the board would be voting to do would be to overturn what the zoning officer determined and the zoning review application determined.
Okay.
So we make it simple. So
Can I-
forget that you're going to move. Who wants to vote? First of all, is there a second? Is there a second?
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, so now we all know what we're voting on, correct? If
Okay.
we're going to vote in the affirmative to approve this appeal, that means we're denying what the zoning officer did.
So if we
Okay.
say yes,
So,
it's
Mr. Beasley-
denial, and if we say no, it's approval.
No, don't look at it that way.
No.
Let me tell you, this is
Let
the
me read
first
it.
time this has been brought to this board.
Okay.
Yeah, I
It's
know,
all
it's
about
about
the
the
appeal.
appeal.
Okay.
No, I understand
So,
that, but still.
The motion has been made and second to approve the appeal. Mr. Beasley, we need to take a vote now. Let's take, the motion has been made, two motions to approve the appeal. There are 8 of us, and just so that for the record, one person will not be voting tonight, only because they came late, a little bit late, and missed some of it, and we want to protect the integrity of this decision tonight. So, no, you
No,
can't,
you
you
just
can't vote
don't
at
have to
all.
vote.
Okay. So, Mr. Beasley,
Commissioner Allen?
I just want to say thank you for the public for coming out. We hear your concerns. We all are from Jersey City. We all have similar issues with zoning and developers. So we're not up here just listening and ignoring anything you say, first and foremost. I'm a no. I listen to everything. I don't want to go too deep into this, but I just think the United Land Use Law was followed, and yes, I'm a no.
Commissioner Burns? No. Commissioner Barron?
No.
Commissioner D'Angelo?
No.
Commissioner Shadid?
Commissioner Shadid?
No.
We're going
Ma'am,
over the vote.
Wait, wait a minute, wait a
Just
minute.
finish the vote. Let's finish the vote.
Okay.
It's not nice, no.
Okay, Mr. Beasley, continue the vote, please.
Vice Chair Rule?
I've been giving this a lot of thought. I think people think that we sit here and we don't listen to the public. We do. I've been here 70 years in Jersey City, and I've seen what's going on in the development. I don't agree with everything. But then I also am a homeowner. And when I want to do something to my property, I want to be able to do it if I spend my money. And I understand that sometimes we have to look at both sides of the picture, whether it's the neighborhood that doesn't want to do this, or also my right as a homeowner who actually spent a lot of money buying this property. So we think about this. You know, it's not easy to be up here because a lot of us are homeowners. And like I said, we've been here a lot of years. So we value what you say, but we also value the person that had the right he wanted to buy the property because he wanted to do something with it. I wish he would have known what was going on before he bought the property. I don't know if he did. I don't know what he did. But there's a lot of times, excuse me, let me finish.
This is not TV.
Let me just
Please,
finish.
don't shout out.
Yeah, there's a lot of times when developers and architects sit in front of us and we send them back several times. And they come back and we send them back because we listen to the neighborhood. We want them to do the structure that coincide with the rest of the neighborhood. We don't arbitrarily just say yes to everything that comes across. But with that, we also have to listen to the homeowner, to the owner, to the person that spent the money in buying the property. So we have to look at both sides, you know. So, and I understand, you know, you want to look at. I've been here 70 years, and I've had property. I've had 5 in my lifetime, and the light was blocked. I didn't see the view. I was able to go across the street and see the World Trade Center. I can't see that now. You know, so a lot of us do that. And that happens to a lot of us and when we own property in Jersey City. And I'm sorry, because we do want to side with you and we do want to understand what you're going through. But I also have to realize that this man or whoever bought that property would like to do something with it. So with that said, I'm going to vote no.
Chair Coyle?
I'll make this short. I listened to everyone. I'm really sorry that the person who purchased the property and is developing it didn't at least go to the neighbors and try to work with them. You're going to have to live in that neighborhood, and I hope that these people who are good people in Jersey City, as we are, whether he's from Jersey City or not, I don't know, but at least you have to live in that neighborhood, and you could have made some efforts to meet with the people and speak with them and have their input. There are too many factors in this that I'm not certain of. I think that the zoning person made the right decision, but because I don't have all the answers for myself, I have to abstain on this vote tonight. So with that said.
Okay, motion to overturn the zoning officer's determination does not carry. There's 1 abstention, 0 yeses, 6 noes.
Mm-hmm. So the appeal is denied.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
That wasn't
Okay.
very nice. That necessary?
All right, do we have any resolutions that
Yeah,
we
we
have
haven't.
to
Yes.
memorialize? Okay,
That's what they're doing first.
okay.
Next time send a letter to all the neighbors, all the owner of the house. We didn't receive no notification that they was gonna do that. Everybody own homes here, all of them. It's a developer making money. I don't know.
They don't get it. The developer's not an owner.
It's not our decision to make, though. It's not our decision to make. We followed the guidelines. It's not our decision to make. There-
Officer and the planning, head of the planning department, that's a conflict.
We're still, sorry,
Maybe one day it'll happen to you.
Oh, it's not us, it's not our responsibility to right the wrong.
I'm so sorry. We have one more application. Can we carry it on the record?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Sorry.
We're gonna have to carry it to October
Yeah.
23rd.
Can we carry it with the preservation of notice?
Yes, preservation of notice.
I
Vinny,
feel
do you
so
wanna-
bad for these people, but it's.
Well, the only person I feel bad for is the guy who.
Rebecca Mariello.
No, I can't. But I don't, this guy, this is the guy here, I think, who was sitting there making faces at everybody. I think that's him.
I don't know if they
I
want.
mean, at least go talk to them. Can you think your life is gonna be like that? No, he's not required to, but I would have at least.
What did we want to do? I'm sorry.
There was one more application tonight, 162 Summit. We
Yes.
just would like to request that this be carried to the next available board meeting with preservation of notice.
Vinny, it's gonna have to be
yes.
October 23rd.
This is one of the best Friday.
Just
Wait,
a
wait,
second.
guys,
Just a
guys,
second.
wait.
Just a second.
You did it really well.
It's gonna have to be October 23rd.
Okay,
The
thank you.
preservation of notice, that's
Yes.
okay?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
And what about the rest of the calendar? We didn't really put that on the record, right?
No, those items have already been carried.
Already
We
carried.
Yes.
To what dates?
October 23rd.
Item 11 carried to October 9th. Item 12 carried to October 23rd.
Okay.
Okay, I think Cynthia. Just quickly, and then we'll continue.
Yeah. No. I'll say it right now. But I don't, no, I have it. But I don't believe, we're not on a record, right? I don't believe it should be in the resolution, and I'll just say something about it. Yeah, we're gonna do that right this second.
Yeah.
So, what do we do now?
We're still.
As an attorney, I did. What is he doing?
What?
There was no need for it.
What?
What's the need? You're gonna take this appeal. Right? Oh, because you're not gonna, what good is the first?
Well, you did.
They're not-
They got a big building there.
Oh, I know. After a while, you
Okay, so at this time, we have some resolutions that we need to memorialize. Eric, we're going to.
Hey, let's take it outside. We still have to do resolutions.
Eric,
You know,
what's
I'm
this
just-
resolution here?
I'm just getting tired of people saying we don't listen. We listen. We listen.
They called us names too. They listen, I've been called worse.
This is a, so this is a corrected resolution.
No, I've been called worse. I don't care.
It's a corrected memorialization.
This was a
date.
bad, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
the
was
case
it.
number.
But you know what?
It's the case number.
We've never had a situation like this. And so what do we do? Go against the zoning when we're so
No, but I didn't want it to be, so why I
unanimous?
I did not want that to happen, because they will say, you know, nobody, you know, they say
I was
what they
gonna say abstain, but then that would have been like five. It still
They-
would have passed.
Six, 5, it still would have passed.
So-
As long as it passed, that's all we're getting.
The first resolution we're going to memorialize is just to let that young lady go home. since she's been here all night just for this. And so this is 128 Glenwood. That's application number Z 2025-0020. That was decided August 7th. It was an application for minor site plan approval with a use variance, bulk variance, design waivers. Okay, so present that evening were Acting Chair Arroyo, and then Commissioners Allen, Zablicki, Burns, Barron, Shadid, and D'Angelo. That application was approved, 7 in favor, none opposed. All in favor of memorializing that?
Aye.
And so just so the record is clear, there was some correspondence in this particular matter. The attorney for the neighborhood on Glenwood wanted to add a clause to this resolution talking about the prior case that was up in the Superior Court. That prior case was resolved by saying it's going to be put aside until this case has gone through its legal channels. So I don't know why Cynthia wanted a note in this resolution, but that's not appropriate. That's what I just told her. So just so the record is clear, I told her that I'm not doing that. So the resolution is something that I went over with the applicant's attorney. Staff looked it over. It's fine. And really, we don't have the authority to put something into the resolution that was not before the board. So that's why I told her we're not doing it. So that's that. So we know what that was about.
Okay.
A little chit chat on the side. Now let's see the rest of this. I'm sorry I didn't have the time to put this in order, so let's just go one at a time. Instead of putting it in order, the next one in front of me is Z 2025-0041 Hilltop View Holdings. And it was an extension of a major site plan approval with C&D variances, 130 Summit Avenue. That was heard on July 10th. Present that evening was Chair Coyle, Commissioners Arroyo, Allen, Barron, Shadid, Patel, and D'Angelo. That passed 6 in favor, 1 abstains. That was Commissioner D'Angelo. But all in favor of approving that?
Aye.
Aye.
And then there is a Z 2025-0002 Hilltop. Didn't I just read that?
You just read Hilltop.
No, it just gave me 2 of the same. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is the minor subdivision for that. So it's a case number Z 2025-0002. Same evening, July 10th, same commissioners, same vote, 6 in favor, 1 abstention, which is Commissioner D'Angelo. All in favor of approving this minor subdivision?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay. And where do we go again? Same case, different case number, Z 2025-0004, Hilltop View Holdings. This is the final major site plan amendment for that case. Again, same 7 commissioners, same date, same vote, 6 in favor, 1 abstention. All in favor of memorializing that?
Aye.
You. No, wasn't. Who's the abstention?
Abstentions was Commissioner D'Angelo. I guess that was her
First
first
night.
evening,
Her
that's why.
first night.
She was afraid as to what the consequences of voting on something was, and I understand. So the next case is Z 2025-0025, DMA 19 LLC. The address was 3411 Kennedy Boulevard. It was an application for an extension. We heard that June 5th, and there were only 5 commissioners that evening. Chair Coyle, Commissioners Allen, Shadid, Patel, and Barron, and that extension was voted 5 in favor, none opposed. All in favor of memorializing that?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't know if I'm keeping the papers they seem to be appearing here. So the next one is Z 2025-0029. in the matter of Oda Bar JC LLC. That was a use variance that was heard on August 7th. Present on August 7th was Acting Chair Arroyo, Commissioners Allen, Zablicki, Burns, Barron, Shadid, and D'Angelo, and this time, D'Angelo voted. So it was 7-4 and none opposed. All in favor of memorializing this? is
Aye.
And unless this is like a magic desk and things are keeping up here, but there's only one more here.
Yeah, sure.
Are you sure?
Unless there's something underneath. And that's Z, let me see here, Z25-051. Oh, is this the, hold on a second. Yeah, this is the corrective memorialization. We heard this when? Didn't we hear this as a corrective, or we're just putting it in front of the board as a corrective deed, right? We just corrected the Z on it, right?
Yes, it's correcting the application number.
Okay. So that, the original application was heard on December 14th, 2022, memorialized January 12th, 2023, and now this is the corrective memorialization. So all in favor of memorializing that?
Aye.
Aye.
That's it, you sure?
No.
I think so.
Okay, so I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Quadruple.
Aye.
They don't even let you talk.